Strong.
Welcome in, Roster the People, Week 4. Sorry for being a little late today, technical difficulties, and for once it was not my fault. So, not on me, not on this one. You might notice Jason looks a little bit different and is kind of squinting weirdly. He's on his backup rig today, so our apologies for any kind of weird choppiness that might occur today. Not a huge deal, but life has a fun way of throwing these problems up right as you're getting ready to do something. So, Jason's normal computer failed to post at the worst possible time. So there you go. So now you're all caught up with the show that we do the show meeting during the show. That's usually how that goes. So, Jason, how you doing? I could probably imagine.
Well, now I've somehow managed to completely lose you, so I'm excellent. I have no idea what's going on. Can't see you. Don't know what switched or where you disappeared to.
I want to make so many inappropriate hand gestures. So many.
I couldn't even tell you because I literally
can't
know
because
where
I'll
you
get us
disappeared
taken down. I already almost got
to.
us.
Found it.
I already almost got us sued last week. So no, we're good. Daniel, it's fine. Everybody's having problems today. It's fine. Jason's computer died, so Jason's on his backup laptop. Like he's like figuring this out while we're trying to start, but we were 20 minutes late. So I was like, look, if we're gonna do it, which we should try to do,
working on it for an hour already. So
yeah, I was gonna say if we're gonna start, like we should, whatever it's gonna be today. So this might be a little bit of a shorter, more disjointed show than normal. You might be wondering, how could this show be more disjointed than it normally is? You'd be surprised. You'd be very surprised on how that works. So, so there you go. Without further ado, we'll get into questions. So, Jason, I'll read this to you since it might be easier. Skylar wants to know: should he start Shakir or Jamison Williams in full PPR this week?
Still going to roll Shakir here. Again, he somehow seems to have silently become the wide receiver 1 for the Bills, and Goff is, I don't know where Goff is, but he hasn't been quarterbacking like we had expected, even though it was such a favorable thing moving into this year. Him having games that were either in a dome or at home. And so until he figures it out, the only person you're really trusting anyway was Amon-Ra and then Montgomery and Gibbs. And even Gibbs has been more spotty than expected.
Yeah. Amon-Ra, obviously. I think I probably am going to roll out Jamison, though, this week, because I'll tell you, something weird's going on with the Bills. So the reason that they gave for why Keon Coleman didn't play in a big chunk of the first half was apparently down to discipline issues and being late to meetings. Always what I want to hear. But the reality of it is that I think they're going to give him an opportunity to redeem himself. So I'm probably going to roll out Williams one more time. The other reason I'm saying that is because Shakir draws a really, on paper, bad matchup against the Ravens. And I say on paper because it's been a little spotty. But I'm willing to give this one more ride because we're getting into week 4. Data is starting to get compiled. So for this week, I'm going to play Williams. I will say I have Williams at 27 in my rankings at wide receiver, and I've got Shakir at 35. So it is closer than one would think, but for me, it's Williams one more week, and then we reevaluate this entire situation. Soup to nuts. Follow-up question: Juwan Jennings or Shakir? Okay, well, that's a different conversation. I'm gonna play potentially, but I'm gonna roll out Juwan Jennings over any of that.
I think it is going to be, granted, we have a very small sample at this point, but if Debo and Kittle remain out, which
I think they will.
Again, I'm not ruling it out yet because we can't really do that. But assuming they are out, yes, it's probably going to be Jennings. That changes.
Yeah, if that
I
changes,
become
obviously this will
more.
change. Come back on Sunday. But asking me this question on Wednesday with what I know, it is trending towards Debo's going to miss another week. Kittle's going to miss another week. So if that happens, then it's Jennings. Don't love that he's probably going to get the Gonzalez treatment against the Patriots, but I'd still feel better about that than
You think he is as compared to Ayuk?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. That's why I'm saying Jennings for me would be the answer based on what we know as of Wednesday. Ask that question again on Sunday. You might get a different answer, but I think that's what it's going to be. Daniel wants to know, do you play Richardson another week or do you roll out Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I'm not. I started to do that last week. I was nervous on him because he stopped rushing, and it just compiled itself into another week where if he's not rushing, he's not valuable to you. Like that's a big part of his fantasy production is him rushing and potentially scoring a touchdown that way.
And I go
And
back to my thing from 32 teams in 32 days. Do you like gambling? Anthony Richardson. Do you like things that you kind of know what it is? Not that. Not that. The issue here with Rodgers is that they're playing Denver. So that means Garrett gets the super fun Surtain treatment. And so the question is, how do you feel about the rest of the Jets? Worked out okay last week. But
yeah, that is definitely a big part of it. It's just you're again hoping for Lazard in a big game from I can't think of it.
Conklin in the most
Conklin, yeah.
infuriating way possible. It's that kind of deal. So my question to you is this, Daniel: what's available on waivers?
Darnold?
Because Darnold would be number one. If Darnold was available, I would go do that over your other option, and I would play Darnold over Richardson. I know that's insane to say, but that's what it is. I tried to warn people. Tried to warn them. I brought this up at 32 teams in 32 days. It was that
Small
we just
sample.
don't small sample, and we just don't know, and he didn't get to practice. So there you go. So what I would say is back to the original question: what's available on waivers? Because if I had to roll out Rodgers, that's a little far down the list for me. But if Darnold was available, I would be good with that. If Baker was somehow available, I'd be good with that. If Geno Smith was available, I'd be good with that. Any of those things, I would be good with. You start getting lower down the list than that, and I start having issues with wanting to deal with it. So I hope that makes sense. I'd go check your waiver wire. That's where we are, because I feel like if I was put into that position where nobody else is available, I might just have to bite the bullet with Richardson again. But I don't love it because he's playing Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh's been a top 5 defense. They've been great. So
Part of the reason they're winning.
Yeah, it's not great. So that's where we are. Is this what's available? I'm assuming this is what's available.
Oh, Dalton. Fields is probably your safest bet, but Dalton. Still Dalton. Yes, you do against the Bengals. Yes, you do. Don't lie to yourself.
I don't. I never want Andy Dalton. You know that. The answer very rarely to what I want is Dalton. I would say Fields would be one. Fields would be one over Richardson and Rodgers. Would be number one for me because I feel like I know what I'm getting. And then my second choice is Darnold. Those are my choices. And Jason will tell you to play Andy Dalton, and I wish you luck if that's the direction you decide to go. Maybe you'll get lucky. So there you go. I've seen Andy Dalton come in and play good for one game and then immediately go back to being bad Andy. So And he lost his BFF, which I was correct about until he blew up his hamstring. What's up, Polo? It's good to see you as always,
Hey,
sir.
Polo.
We're getting a little bit of a later start. You didn't miss much. Jason's computer decided it wanted the night off and possibly to go to the landfill. So he's on his backup computer at this point. Well, we got some more fantasy questions, but we'll do a non-fantasy question real quick. Candy corn, abomination or America's favorite vegetable?
I
Abomination.
don't know.
Not
Some
cool.
people like it.
Yeah, they're wrong. People are wrong about all kinds of things.
Yeah, I don't love it.
It's
So
disgusting. It's
I
neither
don't-
vegetable nor candy. Fun fact, all the candy corn that was ever made was made in 1930. And every year, the Brock's company, just goes around and recollects all the unsold candy corn and then just changes the labels on it and puts it back out for sale. That's where it is. So that's literally how they do it. They've never made any more candy corn since like 1930. It's similar to how every Tootsie Roll uses a little bit of the Tootsie Roll batch from the day prior. So in reality, every Tootsie Roll can trace its roots back to the original Tootsie Roll from like 1918. That's real. That's not. I didn't even make that up. That's a real thing. That is a real deal. It is. It is. God. It is going to be very similar to like looking at the Statue of Liberty. All the grime and gross like oil. Oh yeah, that's about right. That sounds about right. That's horrible. It's diabetes that they're charging you money for. Brian Johnson or Henry full PPR? I'm assuming he means Derrick Henry.
You said Brian Johnson?
I might have. I meant Brian Robinson.
Oh, okay.
Brian Robinson or Derrick Henry full PPR.
Sorry,
I may have.
Johnson.
There
really
may or may not be.
like, yeah,
there may or may not be a Brian Johnson question, like slightly below that.
I don't think you go wrong. I'm probably going to go Robinson without Eckler, and they have a good matchup against Arizona. So, yeah, I'll probably go Robinson here, especially with PPR.
Yeah. I still have Derrick Henry a few spots higher. I have Derrick Henry at 10. I have Robinson at 14. So they're wrong. They're just wrong. It's fine. People are wrong about all kinds of things. Bowers or Kincaid?
Still more willing to trust Bowers right now.
I have Bowers as the tight end
because he just has a job.
Exactly. It's like that's the sad state of tight end is that I have Bowers as the tight end 1 this week. Oh, there you go. And I'm not the only one. So it's disgusting. It's a disgusting thing. Rashid Shaheed or Brian Johnson if Devonta Smith is out. Which I think he will be, by the way.
I mean, it's still probably Brian Thomas.
Brian Thomas Jr. I screw this man's name up all the time. He's my new name I can never get right. I'll get it right eventually. I'll eventually get there.
They're playing the Texans. He's a big play. He still saw a lot of targets. He just didn't convert on all of them. It's hard to kind of get away from him when he's playing. I mean, it's just rookie year.
Yeah. The problem is that we talked about I literally have them one spot apart in my rankings because it's the same thing. It's who do you think is going to catch a touchdown? So I'll probably go back to the Shaheed one more time. But we saw what that is, and I've been talking about this for a while. You saw what it is. Shaheed is he got 5 targets. He had a 0. But that's the issue: is Rashid Shaheed catches a huge touchdown or he doesn't. And if he does, it's 20, and if he doesn't, you get nothing. And that's his job. And it's not different from any other year, by the way. So if you want safety, neither of these two is safety. It's the same. It's kind of the same thing, and that's why I have them ranked right next to each other, because it's like, well, it's you're betting on which horse do you think is. I shouldn't call people horses, but you're betting on, metaphorically, which one do you want? Do you think is more likely to catch a touchdown? And what's hilarious is Thomas has got Houston and Shaheed's got Atlanta. They're both good matchups as for what they're going to do. So I go back
Brian
to
Thomas is still seeing more targets than Shaheed.
a little more,
just
but
in
he
a
still
general
had
sense.
5, and I'm trusting Carr just that little bit more.
That's probably fair.
So that's why I go that way. And then we have this huge discussion about candy corn, because that's literally what we're here for. Kelsey or McBride, who is still in the concussion protocol, by the way.
Yeah, it's probably Kelsey, because the Chargers aren't going to be able to do anything without most of their team. I'd be surprised if really any starter goes. They keep
That is a
saying
bit
that
of a
Herbert's
problem.
going to do it.
I am going to play Kelsey, warts and all, largely down to the whole concussion protocol thing. Don't love it that they're saying he's on the concussion protocol as of Wednesday. He's got 2 days to clear it. Don't love it. So probably want to avoid that. Pick 2 in the flex PPR. Mason, Olave, Brian Robinson, McLaurin, JSN, or Shaheed.
Olave and Brian Robinson. I like how McLaurin look. We finally had the
over Mason. Jordan Mason.
Yeah, I'm just
really.
Well,
I'm a little surprised by that. I'm a little surprised by that.
I understand. It's just it's a volume play, I guess. I know Robinson also has the job, and that's a big part of their game is running the ball. I mean, he really struggled this past week, but he still found the end zone.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for me, it's Mason 1. I have Mason as a top 10 flex play, so it's going to be Mason. And then I have it very, very close in my flex rankings between Olave and Brian Robinson with the whole job. So the way I do it is this: if I think I need upside to win, I'm going to play Olave because it's PPR. And if I feel like I need security, like I need some real security, I'll roll out Brian Robinson. But I lean towards Olave. So I'd say Mason and Olave is kind of where I'm looking there, Daniel. More air yards this weekend: Justin Fields or Tropical Storm Helena? Could you guess who asked that question?
I mean, it has to be Steve.
Yes, it was. And he is correct. It's Helena by a country mile. Thank you. Thank you. Always nice when Steve drops in to entertain people. PPR, not a Jones owner. There's many
Aaron Jones?
I'm assuming that. But would you drop Chandler for any of these as a stash? Dowdle?
Okay.
Zamir White? Perrine? Or Samaje Perine, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Emmanuel Wilson? Wandale Robinson? Michael Wilson? Josh Downs? Tutu Atwell? Demario Douglas? Demarcus Robinson? Or I'm not sure. He says Humphrey. I'm literally like, well, we're pretty far down the list here.
Adam Humphrey?
There's 2. Hang on.
Humphrey.
He might be. I think he means little Jordan Humphrey.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's probably fair.
I think he means little Jordan Humphrey.
He ran a lot of routes this past week, so At least
he's had 9
somebody's looking
fantasy
at that.
points the last 2 weeks consecutively.
Yeah.
So I get why people are starting to think about it. And they've started looking less terrible. Just in general, the Broncos. They still look terrible, but they've looked less terrible.
Well,
So would you drop Ty Chandler for any of those names on that list? And I realize that list is very long.
yeah, it's probably you're looking at a flex. If you're not using Chandler and you need a flex when it comes time for the bye weeks, which is pretty much starting next week.
It is not. It's not pretty much. It is literally.
Okay. Well, Wandale is probably going to be your most consistent out of that bunch, especially in PPR. Outside of that, I mean, you could maybe go with Dowdle. He seems to potentially be taking over that role. But outside of that, I'm probably staying away
I would
from
do
the
it
rest
for
of those.
Dowdle. I would do it for Emmanuel Wilson in a heartbeat. That so
He looked good.
I would do it. Yeah, I would do it for him in a heartbeat. Would be the one because I'm not sold,
Jacobs not to.
I'm not sold on it, and they keep saying they want to use 2 backs, and it's like, okay. And historically, what have they done? So it would be Emmanuel Wilson is probably number 1 for me. Then it would be Wandale. Then it would be Dowdle. Then it would be Downs because he got a lot of run for a guy coming off an injury.
Well, and targets.
Then it would be Douglas. Then it would be Wilson. And then I don't really care about the rest of it, if I'm honest. Emmanuel Wilson would likely be number 1. It'd be him or Wandale. Because you know my feelings about Wandale Robinson. It would be one of those two. But oh look, and Steve agrees. Emmanuel Wilson would be Steve's choice. So there you go. That's what it is. I'd say Emmanuel Wilson would be number 1, and then I'm not really interested in like Dowdle is like kind of a longer term thing. Maybe one day it matters. I'm out on Zamir White. I don't care about Samaje Perine. It'd be Wilson or Robinson, and then the rest of it is kind of like how lucky do you feel? I would cut Chandler for a lot of those guys though. So there you go. Okay, so PPR rosters Brees Hall. Would you drop anybody for Allen of this list? Ford, McLaurin, Shaheed.
Man, that's tough. I mean,
I might actually be trying to
move, trade.
Yeah. Could I
Do a 2
bundle
for 1?
this and do a trade? We're getting to that point where I'm willing to entertain this.
You should be trying to ship off the
Ford is the one that's like big blinky lights. Like, get rid of that. You don't even want that now, let alone when Chubb comes back. That's just got to go. That's got to go. And yeah, I'd say that's my theory. Other things that would be available: Bucky Irving, Chuba Hubbard, Steele, Rome Odunze, Darnell Mooney, Cortland Sutton, Wandale Robinson, Sam Laporta.
People are dropping it, man. They lost the faith.
Well, look, I will continue to take my victory laps on tight end is useless, and you're all crazy and you're all wrong, and I'm just going to keep taking them until something changes. Because, yeah, I'm going to keep it in check here a little bit. But yeah, you're all wrong, and I was right, and there you go. So it's the tight end is pointless, and I can see why people are dropping Sam Laporta. Yeah, there you go. As Daniel puts it, Laporta owner rage quit. So I could see it. I could see it. Manager, Daniel, manager. It's 2024. We don't own people in 2024. I'd say I might be willing to drop Ford, but before I did it,
Try and package him with Shaheed for something
I
nice.
might be trying to take either McLaurin or Shaheed and staple it together. to see if I can go approach whoever has Chubb and see what I could get in a 2-for-1 for that and upgrade, and then go pick up Allen in the background. Because I don't think you're wrong. I would want to roster Allen if I had Hall. We've seen at this point enough to where I've elevated Allen into handcuffs, proper, real handcuff status. So that's what I would be doing.
Yeah, but on the same note,
volatility
Irving,
of both the volatility of both those receivers is such that you don't need both. You don't need both. One is fine. I'm fine with holding one, but I don't want both. Because the way they're using McLaurin really looks like it's going to be the same thing. It's like he's just going to run down the field and they're going to take deep shots to him. He's not really working the middle of the field the way he used to. So we could argue about whether or not I think that's smart, but it's not really relevant. My opinion is not relevant in that matter. So that's what I would do. Steve chimes in that Wilson is Chandler from a handcuff perspective, but he also has weekly flex consideration, and I think that's largely correct. Wilson is going to get enough work because of the fact that they're going to constantly split because it's the Packers and that's the offense that they run, that he would have weekly flex consideration. He's not going to score 16 fantasy points in PPR every week, but he would have still got a 10 if he didn't fall into the end zone. And as we've seen, 10 points is about the minimum for what you would need to be considered a flex. So there you go. That's the high level here. Hey Jason. Well, we went for questions. Who's your quarterback start of the week?
I kind of touched on it earlier. Andy Dalton versus Cincinnati. I know. Makes you sick, but
all over.
I like his weapons. Cincinnati has really just been giving it up, and I'm not scared of that defense whatsoever.
For the record, is terabad.
Say what?
Terabad. I said Cincinnati's defense is terabad.
Yeah. So, and we just saw what Dalton did.
I don't know who you're booing. Are you booing me or are you booing Jason? Because I feel like you're booing Jason, knowing you, but I'm booing that as well. Like, if you're booing Jason, I agree. I'm booing that all day. I'm not playing Andy Dalton. You're out your damn mind. You've lost your natural born mind. I'm not doing that. That's crazy talk. I was right about Thielen. Wasn't I right about Thielen? I told you. He was right. I was spot on with the Thielen, and then, of course, he got hurt.
Well, yes and no. I mean, him and Johnson were pretty much
good,
split.
Good, we agree.
Right
Boo! Boo Jason's take. Good, we agree. I have backup in here tonight. Yeah, I'm not playing Andy Dalton. You're out of your damn mind. Go ahead. I know you like the weapons and whatnot. And
yeah, I mean, he actually uses them. You know, everybody seemed to have fantasy value, even though they got hurt. And even Chuba was catching passes and doing what I expected him to with Young. And so actually seeing that offense move and score against the Cincinnati team that should be able to put up points, I'm trusting Dalton against a horrible Cincinnati defense.
All right. Fair enough. I disagree. I have other choices.
That's why I'm bringing up.
I have other choices that I would like to bring up. Choices like Sam Darnold would be my stream of the week because he's still under 50% rostered and he's outside the top 12. So I know he got beat up in that game, but he's trending towards playing again. And I've already said this numerous platforms over the last week. If Sam Darnold was going to play like that for the Jets, they would already be building him his statue. That's the level the Jets are at. So there you go. He draws Green Bay's defense that doesn't scare anyone. Green Bay's defense has not been playing well. So I am straight up rolling that right back out. That's where we are. We're going right back to the Darnold well. And if you would have told me I'd be having this conversation multiple weeks in the preseason, I'd have accused you of being high. And that's it. Here we are. Here we are. That's where we are. It's nuts. Other thing, second choice, less available, would be Baker Mayfield for those who might have lost the faith after 1 week, because he draws the horrible Philadelphia secondary. So I'm in. Get on the bus. Like, we're going right back at it. We're right back to the Mayfield well with a great matchup. So those are choices. I would even rather play old man Aaron Rodgers before we got to, who also has a really good matchup Surtain aside, against Denver. I got 3 choices before we would ever get to Andy Dalton. So, bleh, bleh, it's everywhere.
Well, I figured you'd get the easy one, so I take the hardest
yeah,
one and
that's
make
what.
it.
Yeah, the easy one. Sure, that's how you all. That's the treatment I always get. The way you get to go. That's right. I forgot how the show works.
Yeah, you get the
Who's your
easy one.
sit
It's
of the
fine.
Who's your sit of the week?
I mean, we touched on it. Anthony Richardson.
Okay,
I'm terrified, man.
Now who gets the easy one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking the easy one on this one because we talked about it last week. Without him rushing, I'm scared. Like the trend from him having a good week 1 where he was moving, passing, even then his throwing has been not something I've enjoyed watching, and his ability to get out of the pocket and like it's just not there. I don't trust that offense right now outside of Jonathan Taylor. And that scares me. So if I'm not trusting anybody outside of the running back, I don't see how you're going to get the points from Anthony Richardson if he's not rushing. And so
Yeah.
until that changes, especially against a really good Steelers D, who, granted, they got beat up a little bit versus the Chargers, which has always happened.
Not the best schedule. They haven't played the hardest schedule yet, but that defense has been really good. And they did handle their business against the Chargers. It was touch and go there for a little while, but they eventually figured it out.
Well, they kept them low scoring, and Herbert, I would say, even a hobbled Herbert is better than Anthony Richardson in his start. Whatever.
So for me, it's like what, 7th start, something like that. Because it'd be 4, and then he played 3 last year, or something like that. So it's like 7, sub 10. It's under 10. For me, I will also. See, it's funny. I also get the easy one because it's Jared Goff, and this is where 2 things can be true. Jared Goff can prop up Amon-Ra St. Brown's fantasy value all day long, baby, but it doesn't mean he's going to have a good day. And we've already seen Laporta get cratered. Gibbs is underperforming expectations. Who could have thought that might happen? And also, who's doing the real work? The most underrated running back in the NFL, David Montgomery, a man that the Bears did not want and are still wrong. And I'm going to keep bringing that up until I'm dead because I'm still mad about it.
Yeah, because Swift looks so good.
I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be mad about it forever. I'm going to be mad about this forever. That the Bears could have brought back David Montgomery for a ham sandwich and decided, nah, I don't need that. And then go out and spend $20 million on DeAndre Swift, who looks god awful. Like and then they even have better options in house they don't want to use in Herbert and Roschon Johnson. Which goes to show that the Bears once again prove to you that they don't know what they're doing, and everyone needs to be fired. And really, I go back to the team needs to be sold. The team needs to be sold, and proper people need to be brought in. But that's a conversation for the offseason. So there you go. Jared Goff looks kind of putrid. And also, now he's got O-line problems with Ragnow being hurt. And it's like, oh, God. So now they have O-line problems. I'm sorry, I said Ragnow. What's the dude's name? Their O-line. I'll look it up. They lost a lineman who actually matters. I said Ragnow. I don't know if it is Ragnow. I forget who it was. It was a topic on Monday that was making the rounds, and I'm blanking on the gentleman's name. They lost a lineman. I'll look it up here. Jason will look it up while we continue this conversation. But yeah, I'm not. So I don't want to play. I don't want to do that.
It's not Terry and Arnold, is it? Nope. No,
it is Frank Ragnow. It's Frank Ragnow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's Frank Ragnow. I was right. I shouldn't have doubted myself. I knew I had it right.
I feel like there was a handful of centers that went out this week, and so
yeah, it was Ragnow. I was right. I was correct. So now they're gonna have no Ragnow, more than likely. He says he's gonna play. Okay. I mean, like you do you, homie, but okay. It's week 18, 2025. Burrow, Chase, and Higgins account for 40% of Cincinnati's cap. Burrow leads the league with 5,200 yards. and Chase and Higgins become the first duo with 1,500 receiving yards, and the team finishes 3-14. Yep.
I'm like, I don't know, man.
Plausible.
Do you think Burrow makes it the entire year?
Nope. But all right. PPR flex, pick one. Ramondre Stevenson, Devonta Smith, Brian Robinson, Scary Terry, Shaheed, or Ford.
I mean, Smith if he goes.
There's some decent choices on this list.
Yeah. Smith if he goes, but
I
then
don't know.
Did
you see the hit on Smith, the late hit that didn't get called, and then they spit on him? He spit on him. Like he hit him late and then he spit on him. And I'm like, that cannot be allowed at any level.
Well,
look, where I come from, that's how
James you get is suspended a game.
Look,
for
where
a brutal
I come from, you spit on somebody, people show up to your house. Like they'll find you. Like you spit on somebody, you're gonna get a visit in the night. Like that's like you don't want no. You don't spit on people. Like the late hit is a problem in and of itself. You spit on a guy, yeah, that's not. At no point can that be allowed. Like that's ridiculous. I saw that video today and I was like, whoa, you can't spit on a guy. That's like really, really way out of bounds there. For the record here, by the way, I don't think Smith is playing in this game. He's got a long way to go to clear the protocol and get back out there. If he goes, I'm not even disagreeing with you, but I'm going to play Brian Robinson off this list. Yeah.
That'd be the next one, and then Ford would be it's a third at that point. It'd be Smith, if assuming he plays, which unlikely, then Robinson, and then Ford.
Yeah, I might play McLaurin over Ford, but yeah, something like that. Either way, it's Brian Robinson because that's what it is. Put some chili on your spaghetti because Cincinnati football is back, baby. I also like. I'm old enough to remember when Cincinnati was kind of good for half a season. I like that one too. I'm also old enough to remember that. Is the Gus Bus worth holding on to as a stash, or do you drop him for a bag of candy corn? And that wasn't a Steve question. I appreciate the audience participation. I appreciate the audience participation on this. That's good stuff.
Well,
unlike candy corn.
The whole reason you were even hold on to him is because of the fact that J.H. Dobbins, up until now, has had an issue with remaining on the field. Like, that was the whole reason behind it.
That has happened.
So, as of now, I understand you wanting to drop him, and I don't think a whole lot of people are going to race out and pick him up. So, if there's something better, I would be fine dropping him and going getting something better.
That would be the question, Daniel, is what am I dropping him for? If you got a
Wan'Dale Robinson?
Probably I'd do that. I'd consider it at least.
I mean, Bucky Irving? Braylon Allen?
Boy, but the Bucky Irving thing is so frustrating.
Yeah.
That's a frustrating situation.
He looks really good.
He does look really good. It's frustrating how good he looks. It's really annoying.
As a Rashad White is still
true. As a Rashad White truther who's dealing with a groin injury, both Rashad White and myself, apparently, given how I phrase that, because it's a little confusing. But it's not ideal. It's not ideal for Rashad White's long-term touches. That Bucky Irving looks like he's been shot out of a cannon.
Fresh legs. Looks like the best running back they've had in a while.
But Gus Edwards and the candy corn in my house are the same age. That is that's pretty good. I told you all the candy corn that's ever been made was made in 1930, and they just go collect it at the end of every Halloween and then repackage it and put it back out. That's what it is. I should credit. That's not actually my joke. That's a Lewis Black joke from like 20 years ago that no one remembers. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, Poyo says he thinks Belichick goes to Chicago in the offseason. I don't even know if that would help it. Not saying you're wrong. I just don't even know if that would help at this point. Like, I don't even know what would help besides selling the team, which I've been advocating for years, that you should just sell this team and start over. Get your money, be done, go retire, get your son of questionable intelligence out of here, Virginia, and then let's get real people in here. So that's where I'm at with the whole thing. Even if you had Belichick, I don't know that it's going to matter. Hey, Jason, who's your running back start of the week?
Carson Steele versus the Chargers.
Even with Kareem Hunt getting called up?
Don't care.
All right.
I think that this game is going to be so out of control that they're going to let him continue to have his run and ease in Hunt. I think Hunt actually ends up hurting P. Ryan more than it does Steele.
Okay.
So, and honestly, everybody can score at this point because there's no James, who's going to be the one who normally runs around. Our O-line is completely destroyed right now. And so, honestly, I hope they bench Herbert and just wait till after the bye.
Did they have the week 5 bye?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because Palmer ain't playing. You wouldn't think.
Correct.
And
no reason for Palmer. We don't have Joel Alt. Rashawn Slater's out. More than likely. Like, we have no O-line right now. And so, I mean, which leads me into my sit of the week.
Yeah, well, hold on, I'll do my start of the week here. So my start of the week is actually Tajay Spears. In a game against Miami that I think they're gonna. I keep saying it. They're just gonna stop letting Will Levis throw the ball. Like we're already getting to that point where Will Levis can only throw the ball to DeAndre Hopkins, and any other thing he tries to do is just horrible. So I think we're literally going back to the old playbook slowly. And we started seeing it last week a little bit when they were getting blown out, that they were like, okay, we're going back to the old playbook. Just Pollard, Spears, get in there, do your thing. DeAndre, you're good. Everybody else go sit down. Because Will's not throwing to Will can't do anything else. And old mayonnaise coffee boy is not looking good. So we were curious as to whether or not he'd be able to take the next step. And from what I've seen so far, he's still making a lot of those same stupid mistakes. I appreciate that he trusts his arm, because he does. He clearly trusts his ability to throw the ball and to hit those tight windows. The problem is that he trusts himself too much. Yeah. Like, you got to dial it back, man. Because I appreciate that you believe that you can make all the throws. We call it Drew Lock syndrome in my house. It very much is that. It's like, I appreciate that you believe you have this ability, but I think you've overvalued where you've overestimated yourself, and you need to dial it back. Because, yeah, and I think the coaching staff's going to make that a reality the longer this goes. So for me, it's Tajay Spears. Fun fact, Tajay Spears, when he doesn't have an ankle injury and leaves the game early, is averaging about 10 fantasy points in PPR a game. He's not getting the full workload. As long as he doesn't tweak an ankle or a knee, I think you're locked in for 10 points. So if you're looking for flexes, which you are down this low, in a game against Miami, that even the incompetent Titans have a shot. I think can do it. Yeah. Real quick before we get into sits, Steve says Virginia McCaskey would throw a bunch of money at that young stud Bill Belichick, and I don't need that visual in my head. And since I had to read that and did have that visual, now you all get to suffer. Cool. There you go. Think about that. Try not to. You can't. It's in there now. And when the mayo in the coffee isn't working, got to mix it up. Switching to Miracle Whip. Expect his throws to have the tangy zip this weekend. It's not as good as the ballpark franks you plump when you cook them, but I appreciate the effort. I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate the help. The ballpark frank one was good because it reminded me of the Michael Jordan ballpark franks commercials, which no one under 40 will know what I'm talking about. Yeah, see, Jason doesn't even know. He's got no idea. Who's your sit of the week, Jason?
J.K. Dobbins versus the Chiefs.
Okay, I actually agree with you, but go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, we saw him come back to earth. I talked about the O-line having issues. I just don't see a point of them trying to really run out in anybody in a full force where I don't think they're going to be close in this game. They'll probably be close, but close is relative against the Chiefs at this point. And with the bye coming up, I'd rather just not trust him to have a big run or fall in the end zone, which is what you're hoping for.
Yeah. I have two, actually. One is not super helpful because I don't know if you'll have better options, which is why I have two. Josh Jacobs against Minnesota. Quietly, Minnesota's run defense has been excellent.
Their
In
defense
fact,
in general.
Minnesota is just punching way above its weight class in general, but their run defense has been fantastic. So I don't love that in a game when now we know he's sharing at any level.
Yeah.
Don't love a guy sharing going up against Minnesota in a division game. It's like, don't love this. And he's in the ECR at RB16 in PPR. Yeah. So I don't know that you have better options, but I'd think about it. And then because that's not super helpful, I got another one. Najee Harris against the Colts, which is weird because Warren is not playing in that game. I'm sorry, it's just not happening. Like, there's no way Jalen Warren's playing in that game. And even if he was, he'd run out there twice and they'd sit him down. Something is very much not right with Jalen Warren right now. I think it's his knee or something. They don't know yet what his problem is, but something. And the other one is Najee, because that man is dealing with 3 separate injuries right now. 3 separate injuries that any one of which would sideline a normal person. And he's got 3, and he's continuing to play through it. So it's not the matchup that I'm scared of with the Colts. That's actually a really good matchup. The problem is that I think he might get nicked up in this game, and then it's just Cordero Patterson day. And that's actually one of the ones that I was going to bring up is, boy, oh boy, if Patterson's available in your league, it might be time. It might be time, folks.
Dust it off, baby.
Dust it off. Go waiver claim him. Put him in your bench. Because if all the other running backs are hurt, we know what Arthur Smith will do. We already know. We know. He can't help himself. It's like he needs like a 12-step program. So
it's like Frank Gore all over again.
Yeah, it really is kind of similar to that. Chargers, you sit everyone and effectively just try to run out the clock as soon as the game starts. Dobbins with 63 carries for 152 yards. I love it. Yeah. And then
you're going to do that.
Edwards. Well, no, that's the third quarter, because then he gets hurt and he's done for the year. So that's the first 3 quarters, and then he gets his knee wrecked, and that's career over. Daniel is saying he has Gus in multiple leagues. Keep using that word, Daniel. I'm going to break you of it. That word that starts with O as it relates to fantasy players. You can't say that anymore. I'm sorry, sir. We've moved on as a society. It's manage or roster. You can't say that anymore. And accuse me of being woke if you want. I don't care. I don't give a damn.
It's very difficult to get away from.
It is hard to get away from. I struggle with it too, but that's what I'm saying. You got to at least try.
Yeah.
Because I understand what people's grievance is with that. I do genuinely understand why people don't like that, because it does have a very negative connotation, and it's like, all right, I can make that adjustment. I don't think that that's too much of a thing. So his other options would be Wandale, Leggett, Atwell, Mike Williams, Greg Dortch, Jahan Dotson, Wilson, Downs, Myers, Dowdle, Douglas, Demario Douglas, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'm fine with the first 2, with Robinson and Leggett.
I would even be fine with the first 3.
Oh.
If you want 2-2.
Oh, yeah.
Temporarily.
Again, it's a temp. Yeah, that'd be more temp. I mean, if you're doing long-term, Dowdle would also be another one that I'm probably... He just looks better than Zeke. And if they're actually going to finally turn it over to him...
Oh, Zeke's on his way out, okay? Zeke's getting ready to go
off that early, and then they...
No, but I mean, like, Zeke's getting ready to head off to the old folks' home soon. Like, that's going to be...
When the quiet retires, and...
That's coming soon. Like, I've seen what he looks like, and he just doesn't have that burst that he used to have. And Dowdle's a younger guy. Well, Swift is a different thing. Swift's a lot younger than Zeke. Swift is just
But they look the same.
similar. It's not great. But the but I would recommend I'd go with the first three. I like Wandale the most. Tutu has the most upside, but also has the shortest shelf life. Leggett is right in the middle in terms of shelf life and upside, because we just don't know. It
They
could
told
just be
Thielen.
Deontay, because it could just be Deontay Johnson.
Yeah.
And also at some point they insist they're bringing Bryce Young back. Although I will say, keep winning games, that ain't happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the pressure, they won't allow it. And then my bias tells me that I would do it for downs too, but that's because I'm a sick individual that just can't get away from that.
Loves the pain.
Loves it. It's like what I was telling Mason. Like Mason. It's like I was telling Mason about Mason also says things that lead me to believe that he enjoys pain, and I'm like, all right, Mason, all right, buddy, save that for your personal life. I don't want to hear about it. Like, I don't want to hear about that. But yeah, and I might do it for Douglas, but I would want one more week of relevancy for that. Although I did just spend a ton of.
Myers has been pretty consistent this year.
That's what I mean. It's like, yeah, that's what I mean. It's like a lot of that still needs. Although if we were talking about dynasty, different thing. But from this list, it ain't dynasty. This is a redraft league. This is more a statement than a question. Jared is saying he dropped Mark Andrews for Zach Ertz. Not a move I would have done, but I can't say I don't understand. That was actually a topic I was going to bring up when we got to the tight end start sit of the week. So remind me when we get back to there. Remind me when we get back there.
Okay.
We'll touch on that. What up, Daniel? Start typing.
Hey,
Start typing. We're halfway through the show. Start typing. You can have all the runway you want, but start getting them in. Good to see you, buddy. Steve says he's been woke for years. Caffeinated clarity is yet another pleasant side effect of adding the tangy zip of Miracle Whip to your morning brew. Thank you. Thank you for that. Gross. That is definitely gross.
That makes me feel nasty.
Well, before we do wide receiver and before we get into the next thing, I have a thing. You also clearly saw the Brandon Aubrey stat that was floating around
I had to
yesterday
share it.
on a number. Well, you clearly saw it. I was going to bring it up. I saw it too. I was going to bring it up on the show, so we might as well do it since we both saw it. Do you want to read it? Because I can get there quickly. If you don't have it up, I'm guessing you don't since you're on your backup computer.
Well, I have my phone here.
Okay.
So
I have it literally in front of me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Has more fantasy points than Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase, Marvin Harrison Jr., Amon-Ra St. Brown, Bijan Robinson, Devontae Adams, Patrick Mahomes, CJ Stroud, CeeDee Lamb, and Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. And the other stat, the companion stat to that was Brandon Aubrey would be the tight end 1, the wide receiver 4, the RB 6, and the QB 16. And this is a side effect of what happens when Dallas can move the ball but can't score. And also, it once again illustrates the utter uselessness of tight end. That he would be the tight end 1. So there you go. Just a fun fact for you. People say kicker don't matter, and largely they're correct. But in this case, Brandon Aubrey he's doing the young Justin Tucker, where he actually is sort of mattering. So just thought that was interesting that because Dallas can't score, it's translated into that. Not a whole lot of fantasy actual analysis there. I just think it's entertaining.
Well, I find it funny because he's scoring more than CeeDee Lamb. Who's on a team.
Actually true. Was it on your list?
Yeah.
Oh, it was. Yes, it was. Okay. So yeah, there you go.
That's why I was like, on the same team in fantasy, Aubrey is scoring more points than CeeDee Lamb.
It's almost like rolling out the exact same roster from last season in the NFL is a bad team building strategy. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
not the only place we've seen that.
They had the holdouts, right?
And the injuries, the people that are hurt. So I get it.
Because
it's a cherry picked list. Steve's point is well taken. Because we've seen that a few times Like the Bengals, in a lot of ways, is kind of the same team. Like, there's a lot of teams that are like that, where it's like, we're going to keep the band back together and roll it out. The Texans is another one where they added Diggs, but it's largely the same
And
roster.
Mixon.
And yeah, but it's largely the same roster. So you've got a lot of teams like that that are going to try and keep the band back together and roll it out, and it kind of degrades over time. Eagles is another one with the change at running back, obviously notwithstanding, but I get it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it is the mantra, and sometimes it's good to shake it up. So, uh, thoughts on Palmer, Jason?
He's been injured all year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it really comes down to, in my opinion. Is
Droppable.
Yeah, at this point, you again, more than likely you'll be able to pick him up after the bye if you really want him back.
Yeah, you can drop him because I don't think he's going to play this week, and then they have the bye. So then, you're just getting to that point.
Almost a full month off.
Yeah, that'll give him almost a full month off, and yeah. So that's kind of what it is. So he's droppable until further notice. Maybe if he can get healthy, you can do something. The other problem is that now his quarterback's hurt, and we've also gotten to a situation where Quentin Johnson has actually looked competent a little bit.
He's catching the ball more frequently.
He looks a lot more competent than he did last year. So
yeah,
it's starting to limit the whole thing on Palmer was that he was going to be the wide receiver one and he was going to be a volume play. And because of the injuries to himself and then now to Herbert, it's like, well, that's not happening. And we also weren't expecting the Chargers to have any success running the ball, and that's also not worked out the way that we thought it would. So those are the thoughts, is that he's pretty much droppable until further notice. A lot of the Chargers are kind of droppable until further notice. That's
till after the bye at least.
Yeah. So you got a couple weeks there on that one at a minimum. It's one thing Poles has done great in Chicago. Extend your core early and don't deal with contract issues in their final season. And there's actually some logic to that, where if you believe in some of these folks, you extend them early and you don't wait until the final year where they're going to be bitter and it's going to cost you much more. It's going to cost you a lot more money than it would if you do it in season. Or I should say earlier than their final season. Like, do it if they have a 4-year deal, do it in year 3, so that you're not waiting until the final bell to go through that. So still not seeing these questions from Daniel. I imagine there's a furious amount of typing happening in the background. There's probably smoke coming off the keyboard. So I'm waiting for that to happen. And I want to talk about the Mark Andrews thing. We covered the Aubrey thing just because I thought it was funny. So while we wait for some of that to come through, Jason, 2 wide receivers start of the week. I'm not gonna do the voice again. It's blowing out my vocal cords.
Okay. I actually have 2, but I'm going to go with one we've continued to kind of touch on. Wan'Dale Robinson versus Dallas. He's the second wide receiver behind Neighbors. Looks good. Wait. Yeah, Neighbors. Sorry. Had to make sure I had the right rookie wide receiver there for a second. But Dallas, I mean, it's trusting Daniel Jones isn't great, but he's making the big throw to Neighbors, and then Wan'Dale's still there as a safety net. It's hard to get away from him in a game that he can easily get double digits in, because very least they're going to kick field goals. Put a point one way or another, and Aubrey can hit it from pretty deep. I think he had 54 yards,
60 something.
Did he hit 60 this week?
60, 65, I think is what it was. Like, he hit a huge field goal at one point in that game. So there is that.
Yeah. And so
it's the only thing that's
they're
really
always
working.
in it. Very least you're going to see Daniel Jones chuck it.
Yeah, right. Who's your other one?
DeAndre Hopkins versus Dolphins.
I should have just gone and cut you off.
That was yours?
Yeah.
I figured that's why I was like, I thought you would go and
the only thing that I believe in, receiver wise, pass catcher wise, let's just be honest. The only thing I believe in that's like a pass catcher on the Titans is DeAndre Hopkins at this point.
He's finally healthy.
And he is. And they still have Calvin Ridley ranked over him in the ECR, which is wrong. That is just wrong.
Well, again, he had a difficult matchup last week. So it could be that. Maybe. I don't think it is, but that could be part of the issue.
Yeah, I'm not I'm not sold. Not sold. Not sold at all here, Sailor. Not doing that. You keep on trucking. I'm not doing that. That's not happening. Fine, I'll go to my backup plan. The backup plan, much like for the Falcons, the backup plan is Darnell Mooney, who has actually continued to be impressive. Speaking of guys that are finally healthy, after being broken by the Chicago Bears, stop me for that before. After being just completely broken and being asked to do a job he is not equipped to do, he gets a fresh start in Atlanta. He actually gets a chance to get healthy through the entire offseason. He actually looks healthy, and Cousins is looking his way. He is carving out a role as the real wide receiver 2 on that team. Like, he is the wide receiver 2.
Routes.
He's running a ton of routes.
On the field a lot. Like, yeah. I think even more than London or Pitts.
Yeah, he is the he's proving that last year falling off was an outlier. Like, that's the Bears being incompetent. Like, and him getting hurt because the Bears are incompetent. So he's rounding back into what we've seen in previous seasons where he's been on the fantasy radar, and it's because, like, Cousins is looking to him. Like, he's the real wide receiver 2 at this point. He's carving out that role. He's averaging 7.5 targets a game, and he's averaging 77 yards. I'm sorry, but that's flex wide receiver.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like, and I know it's like, it's hard to trust because we've been burned before in recent memory. But I want to also point out that he's playing the Bucs and the Panthers. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with it. Like, so it's like he's got Saints, Bucs, Panthers, Seattle, Bucs. I ain't afraid of any of that. I'm not afraid of any of those matchups on that slate. They're not all great, to look but
healthy and understanding the offense and really getting some good throws in there.
Yeah. The question I had was, could this offense actually support enough? And it turns out that question doesn't matter because it's like they're just going to go to Mooney anyway. So, and Steve says it was his breakout sleeper in the preseason, left every draft with Mooney. Lester second to the last round, except the Chicago Homer League that he and I play in, where you'll never get Mooney. It'll never happen. Someone will take that from you. That's true. That, by the way, that's real. Like, but yeah, Mooney's worked out. Mooney's working out fine, just fine. So he's going to be my start of the week. Guess what? Probably for a while, because I just read his upcoming schedule. So if you could snag Mooney now, I like it. Like, for example, if you're looking for something to replace Palmer, yeah, it's a good one. That'd be a good one. So, and I don't see a lot of people talking about him. There's a lot more hype coming in everywhere. Jason, this is just for you. Steve wants your attention. Whoa. You didn't expect the Chargers to run well? We in the J.K. Dobbins fan club have been excited for the 8 games of the season he survives this year. Can't believe that it's half over. Thank you. Thank you for that.
I didn't. It wasn't that. We all just assumed that he wouldn't make it this far, and he's looked very good so far.
Well, that, and it's some people wrongly believe that Gus Edwards is good at football, but in my opinion, Gus Edwards, as I've said a million times, Gus Edwards is 80, and it's like, well, he's only got so many years left, so it is what it is. Who's your sit of the week before we go help Daniel?
Shouldn't be surprised, but Garrett Wilson versus Denver, he gets Surtain. That should explain it enough for you. Dude has been covering wide receivers extremely well all year, and
it's almost like Pat Surtain would be worth 2 first-round picks. Almost. Like that.
Yeah, and he's definitely worth every penny that they pay him because he continues to just shut down wide receiver ones. And I'm sorry, but if you can quiet DK Metcalf and you can quiet like some of the wide receivers he's already faced this year and just completely erased.
It's like the top end of the NFL. Yeah. That he's able to just shut down. So that's where we are. That's where we are. So no, Surtain is worth every penny of that extension they gave him. He's probably worth more, for being honest. Like, it's especially given how important he is to Denver and their ability to do anything.
And yet everybody's still ranking. Granted, I know it's Garrett Wilson, but Garrett Wilson's been struggling. Luckily, he found the end zone last week, and that's literally
Yeah,
what I
that would have
said.
been bad. But yeah,
I
Garrett
had him
Wilson,
as a sit last week. I'm pretty sure as well because he had a tough matchup.
and then he
And it
caught that
fell in the end
touchdown,
zone.
and everyone was hugging on the sideline, and I'm like, you shouldn't have to be hugging. Like,
Yeah,
you
I
shouldn't
was
be
like, he
hugging over something that was basic. Like,
it was like 5 for 33 yards or something was
right,
his actual line without the touchdown, and it was like,
right.
yay, you scored.
For me,
You
it's
really saved your
Devontae.
week.
For me, it's Devontae Adams, and it's not even Devontae Adams' fault. It's the Raiders are in free fall. Took 3 weeks for the Raiders to go into free fall, by the way. Don't like when the head coach is out there talking about players made business decisions halfway through the game and stop playing. So he's going to have to start making decisions accordingly. Don't like that. Don't like that they're going back to Gardner Minshew, although I like that more than Madden
Aiden.
create a character, Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah.
But there's very little to like on that Raider team, and Devontae Adams is suffering because of it. And they draw Cleveland, and I understand that Cleveland's not playing like Cleveland, but that defense is still pretty good. And no Myles Garrett helps a little bit as far as the Raiders are concerned. But
They still think he might go out and play.
yeah, it's we'll
even
see.
with his 3 injuries.
I know with his 3 injuries that he's got. But it's Devontae Adams, and Devontae Adams I think is still being overrated right now because yes, he's still Devontae Adams, so he can still have those big games. But it's the consistency.
It's also the Raiders.
Yeah, it's not going to be there. And the Raiders are looking like one of those teams that everybody might be getting fired here pretty soon. For the second year in a row, everybody might be getting fired here. So it's the Raiders. It is what it is. In the Raiders' defense, taking 3 weeks to hit free fall is about 3 weeks longer than we expected it to take. So good for them. And you're not wrong. Not wrong.
Well, to be fair, they also were. I mean, they played good football. They beat the Ravens.
But the Ravens are playing like poo.
I understand that, but it's still a win against a quality team.
On paper.
It blew my mind.
On paper, I guess. Steve says to you, directly to you, that he stands by his belief that Dobbins can play under 10 games this season and lead the Chargers in rushing and fantasy points.
Fantasy points.
Okay. All right, let's go help Daniel here real quick. All right, Daniel, here we go. He's got the semicolons back. I like it. PPR, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. Moss, Steele, Adunze, Jawan?
Jennings?
I think so.
Jauan.
Jauan, yeah.
Yeah. Jawan Jennings.
Mooney and Pickens.
You said PPR, so
yeah,
we looked
PPR.
wide receivers first.
1 wide receiver and 1 flex.
It's probably going to be Pickens and Jawan, assuming Kittle and Debo are out. That changes. I think I would go to Moss. It's close with Mooney, though. Actually, no. Adunze's there. Adunze first. So it'd be Jawan and Pickens and then Adunze.
Just double checking. For me, it's Moss and Pickens. That's what I'm going with, Daniel. It's going to be Moss and Pickens. They both have really good matchups. Is kind of the tiebreaker on that one. So that's how I would run it. Jake Ferguson in PPR. Jake Ferguson or Mark Andrews?
Jake Ferguson.
Yeah, Jake Ferguson. I have Jake Ferguson as the tight end 3 this week. Against the horrible Giants. Even though I think this could be a CeeDee Lamb situation where they try to get him more involved because he was complaining. But even with that, Ferguson, I'm not expecting the massive point total for Ferguson that he had last week, but it's not necessary like for him to do anything else. PPR, 1 running back, 1 flex. Swift, Shaheed, Wandale, Pittman. You wrote Wandale twice, and Goddard.
there was only one running back, right? So he has to go with the running back.
Yes, there is only one running back. I feel like
Okay.
I feel like I feel like
So it
that's
has to be Swift, and which is unfortunate. Man,
yeah, that's
that's rough.
unfortunate. What's available on the waiver wire?
Steal. Probably not, actually.
Probably not. Bucky Irvin.
Emmanuel Wilson.
Yeah, Emmanuel Wilson. There you go.
And then he said PPR, so you need a flex.
He needs a flex.
Probably.
And then he typed this
Well,
wrong, I think.
You touched on it. Smith potentially out. Dallas Goedert, baby. Who else are they going to? Covey's out. Might as well throw it to him. Covey's on IR. Goddard's the senior pass catcher on the team at this point. That's the whole reason my stupid sit of the week on Dallas Goedert blew up is because Smith went down. I was set. I was like, oh, yeah, 2 for 39. Let's go. Check it. We're done. And then all of a sudden, 11 targets and 170 yards for career-setting records for Dallas Goedert. Sure. Why not? Good for him. Jerk.
Believe it or not, I actually agree with you. Is that it would be Goddard. I hate it, and it makes me want to throw up.
But then it's Wandale.
But it would be Shaheed for me
Yeah.
after that. But I have Goddard and Shaheed the closest. Then it would be Pittman and Wandale are close a little bit further down, which is depressing. And then last one for this question: Sutton or Shakir?
Shakir. Sutton's going to get sauced.
Yeah. Shakir. Yeah, Shakir. Not even really that close. All right. Next wave of questions. And then we got a couple other things here, and then we'll go back to Daniel. 1 tight end and 2 flexes in PPR. Gesicki or Andrews? Okay.
Andrews.
I'm playing Andrews. Like, yeah, let's not get
Gesicki
crazy.
had a pretty good week this past week, but again, it was Higgins' first game back. Also, don't expect him to throw nearly as much unless, like I said, Dalton can really make it a game. I still think the Bengals win, but
yeah, I'm not playing Gesicki. It'd be Andrews as much as I am scared of it. And then 2 flexes: Reed, Singletary, Ford, Shaheed, Brian Thomas. Well, I'm playing Reed for sure.
Is Love back? Do we know
I don't care. I don't even think I care. Because Reed managed to have double digits without him last week, so in PPR. So I'm not really worried about that. And then
it is PPR.
Yeah. And then
that's fine. I'll probably go Reed and Singletary.
Yeah, I'm gonna play Reed and
Are you doing?
That might be.
Or is it Shaheed?
No. It's Reed and Singletary.
Okay.
Reed and Singletary for sure on that one. Okay, and then half PPR. 1 wide receiver and 1 flex. Jennings. Juwan is going to confuse me, so I'm just going to go with Jennings.
Okay.
Jennings, Moss, Reed, Tyler Johnston, and Pickens.
Nope. Johnston is only Quentin.
Oh, sorry, Quentin Johnston. Sorry, I'm thinking of Tyler Johnson.
Yeah.
Either way,
there's only one Johnston in the league, and it's Quentin.
Either way, I ain't playing either one of them.
Yeah. It's probably going to be. God, it's close. It's probably going to be Pickens and Juwan. Jennings. It's close with Reed, so.
I'm gonna play Reed and Moss. That's what I'm playing. Reed and Moss. And if I was scared about Moss, then it would be if I have literally have in my flex rankings, I have Pickens and Jennings one spot. So that's why it's a little kind of waffly on that one. But I'm playing Reed for sure, and I'm playing Moss. And if for some reason you're afraid of that, pick between Juwan Jennings and Pickens for my rankings. And then last one on this, Flowers or Kenneth Walker the third. It's going to be Flowers because Kenneth Walker's not going to play. So hate to be that way about it, but Kenneth Walker is probably not playing. And even if he was, he's going to have to show me something besides going out there taking 2 carries and then being like, my hamstring, and then walking back to the sideline as Zach Charbonnet continues to just take his job from him. So by virtue of only that he can stay healthy. Okay. Other Daniel Eberhardt. Thoughts on Dobbs?
I like Dobbs. Dude's running a lot of route. Again, you're waiting for Love to come back. Because until that happens, I mean, he has been running the most routes. He's only really being out-targeted by Reed, and Watson is been lucky because he finds the end zone, which hurts Dobbs clearly, but
yeah,
I would expect that can't always happen.
I'm holding Dobbs for one more week, and then we see what Love can do with it, and we reassess from there. So I agree with Jason's point. You can't really evaluate unless it's Reed.
Yeah.
Which I'll just pat myself on the back for that one. Which unless it's Reed, evaluating anything is pointless until Love comes back. So okay. So we did that and that. And now we will come back to that. And here we go. Angela Barrera. Dan, not sure which Dan. I'm assuming Daniel Eberhardt. Daniel's girlfriend. Give him bad advice. Well, we always do that. That's what he's here for. We always do that. We're incapable of doing anything else than that. Have you not seen this show? That's what it is. It's like, oh, it is Eberhardt's girlfriend. Okay, good. All right. Well, Daniel doesn't get any more questions. We're just going to take Angela's questions.
Sounds about right.
Burrow or Purdy this week?
I can't think of who the 49ers play. Patriots. Ooh.
The 49ers play the Patriots, yes. And the Bungles play Carolina.
It's probably going to be Burrow, but
I'm playing Burrow.
I'd rather go to the waiver wire.
I'm playing Burrow. I have Burrow as my QB7 this week. So there's that. Literally based on the idea that I think they're going to have to throw it to stay in the game.
To stay ahead of Carolina.
Yes. As sad as that. That defense is so bad that I just don't see, like, it doesn't matter. They're just going to have to throw anyway. So it's a question of how many picks.
My Dalton pick? I don't understand. You're so confusing.
No. It's because I still think Andy Dalton can find a way to fail. That's how little faith I have in Andy Dalton. Even against no defense, I think Andy Dalton can find a way to fail. I've seen a lot of Andy Dalton football in my life, Jason. I'm old. I don't buy it. Okay. I've seen Andy Dalton play a lot, and I've seen him fail a lot. And yeah, I've also seen him have one good game, and then immediately in a game where he should have a plus matchup, just completely poo the bed. So no, I'm in to answer Angela's question properly. I would play Burrow because I think there is a real chance that Purdy, they can actually still run the ball with Mason, and I think they will, especially with the amount of injuries they have, because New England is not going to suddenly show up and shock the world. Or it's a lot less likely. You know what I mean?
But they will keep the game under control. It's not going to be out of. Yeah. Gonzalez is going to do well. Depends on who he covers, I guess, whether it's Ayuk or Jennings. But he's going to be on one of them. That's going to limit one target. Taking out one target could be a big issue. Luckily, Jennings really exploded this past week to make him consider looking at him more, but real iffy.
Okay, Skyler. Bucky on the bench. Dude's trying to give me White and the Jets defense for Monty. Monty
No.
is the third back since he has Kamara and Barkley and CMC in the IR. You could do better.
Yeah, I'd rather send Bucky.
I'm gonna tell you right now, you could do better. You could do better than that. If you want to put David Montgomery on the block, Skylar, I could get a wide receiver that would matter. Because if you're telling me that your team somehow is CMC in the IR, Barkley, Kamara, and David Montgomery, first of all, sir, what? I don't even know how that happened, but okay. You
Kamara
probably
was
don't
very
need.
low.
You probably don't need more running backs.
Montgomery
is my
is pretty
general
low.
point.
Yeah.
So what's the wide receiver situation look like? Because I could legitimately take David Montgomery to other people and get real.
No, man.
You
You're
traded James Conner for CMC. Can I play in your league? Do you have an open spot?
It's probably because he went to IR and he was like, he had a good week and capitalized on it. So
yeah, somebody panicked.
Yeah.
Doesn't change my question. The reality of it is though is that it doesn't negate my point. I would take Montgomery if I was going to move Montgomery at this point. If you think it's a quote unquote, it's a long season, Skylar. I don't care about being 0-2. If I'm 0-4, we start having a different conversation. Oh, people are crazy. They panic too early. We know this. They freak out because they're 0-2. It makes no difference unless you're telling me that your playoffs start in week 8. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? It's 2 games. 0-4 is a different conversation than 0-2. So I stand by my comment. He panicked. The reality of it is that you're loaded at running back.
You counter here is what you do.
I see. You were the one who initiated the trade. Well, good for you. Good for you for knowing your league.
Way to snipe that. But you counter with Bucky to this guy and add a wide receiver and see if you can't pick off one of his wide receivers with it. Like if he has Garrett Wilson and you can add Bucky Irving and a wide receiver that's been decent this year.
That's one way to do it. You could do that. Sure. You could go that way and give him Bucky Irving and something to try and upgrade at wide receiver. That's one trade. The other trade that I would take is if I really just didn't need David Montgomery and I thought I was going to sell high because you thought Gibbs was going to come back. Like if you were really trying to sell high on Montgomery, I mean, I'd walk that around the league and see what I could get wide receiver wise. Cause I guarantee you someone will give you a top 20 wide receiver for it. Because running back is so much thinner than wide receiver that I guarantee you could get something. So good for you for knowing your league and being able to snake Christian McCaffrey. And yes, Christian McCaffrey might not be back until week 10. And yeah, Christian McCaffrey might retire. But that's the risk you run. So I'd say right now I might just sit. What's your record, Skylar? Are you 3-0? I'm assuming that it's probably
dealing with a lot of injuries right now. So I'm really struggling to get away from Montgomery.
Okay, so he has Devonta Smith, Cooper Kupp is hurt. He's got Kupp.
And Lance been underperforming.
And he's 3-0. Okay. So yeah, I figured you'd be 3-0. Seems like you have a pretty good team here. That's like a championship team. So honestly, I might just decline and do nothing. Just wait it out and see what we know about CMC as we go along. You know what I mean? Like, because you're in the catbird seat right now. You're 3-0. You've almost locked. You're like halfway to locking a playoff spot. You know, not quite, but you're 33% of the way to locking a playoff spot. Like it's one of those deals. But yeah, I'd say I'd be looking for wide receivers. And I'm declining that trade. And then it's just a question of what do you want to do? Jason would advise trading Bucky Irving to this guy, stapling something to that and seeing if you can snake one of his wide receivers. That would depend on what wide receivers I thought he had.
Yeah. Well, like I said, underperforming. Like if he has Garrett Wilson, that's somebody I'm highly targeting because he's had nothing but difficult matchups week in and week out so far. Like, and he sees Surtain this week. This is going to be the lowest you're going to be able to buy him.
Yeah, that is true. If you were interested, there's a few things at wide receiver that I'd be interested in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, he's faced like Gonzalez, and it's been nothing but absolutely the worst possible weeks for Wilson.
Yeah, well, and then they're clearly not on the same page yet. But then there's also things like Mike Evans like had a couple good games to start and then kind of fell off a little bit because he's had bad matchups and like
And
that could
he should
be.
have another one this week.
Yeah, he should have another, not great match. We'll see. There's
Historically.
a lot of things that are kind of interesting that you could go shop around for, depending on what level you were trying to go. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I kind of want to hold on to Monty for a little while until I had more CMC information. Because it's like I don't want to pull the ripcord on that too early, and then I find out CMC is going to be out way longer than we thought, and it's like you don't even know right now. We don't really know enough, and right now at 3-0, you're not really inclined to have to even do anything. So you could just kind of hang out, which is what I might do. I might just kick my feet up and see what it is. Because even if I lost this week and I was 3-1,
The other option is you can always get a roster resolution. We can do this whole thing all over again.
Speaking of that, Daniel wants to know how your roster resolutions work, and he's asking for a friend named Angela or for himself to use against Angela. I'm not sure. It's a little clumsily worded, but I'm here for it either way. So the way that works is, in about a week, we're gonna put those codes back up on our website. So that's how that goes. What'll happen is we didn't want to do this because we have to give you trade advice. We have to give you trade advice, and we don't really advise making trades very early in the season. We kind of want to wait and see where it's at. So the way it works is we're gonna unlock that. We're gonna put that back on the website. What it is you just head to our website, importantnonsense.com, and you pay us $5. There's no bulk rate. It's $5 a team. So you need a roster resolution for each team. The reason there's not a bulk rate is because this is actually a shocking amount of work. This is like a shocking amount of work.
We found out how difficult it actually is to do.
Yes, it's a lot of work for us, and we have to carve out the time. So what it is you pay for a code on the website. Let us know. We will get in. We would like if we can get access to your league. If you can just send us the link and we can go poke around, that's the preference. If not, we're going to need screenshots. What we're going to want to see is the rosters for all the teams in the league, what the waiver wire looks like, and then what your team looks like, obviously. The reason for that is because we're going to advise you on waiver claims, trades, and just general advice on your team. But it's hard for us to do the trades until we have enough, the trade advice, until we have enough data to actually give you proper advice. That's why we don't offer these from the beginning of the season. Because what ends up happening is people want them from the beginning of the season, and we end up giving advice, and then someone gets hurt, and then I feel like a jerk. So it's like, I don't want to do that. So we will not make the moves for you because we do not have admin rights to your league. Also, this is just advice. I don't know that you're going to believe everything we're going to say to you. Plus, I usually get multiple people to do this. Me, Jason, Steve, whoever else is available. Mike Berlin, Mike Manning does them sometimes, Mason. So it depends on who's available. So it's $5, and we'll give your league like a full going through. So we'll sit down and we'll literally rough out trades for you. The problem is that the trades I like are not necessarily the trades that Jason will like, or the trades that Steve will like. And so we all have a little bit of a difference of opinion. But the nice thing is you'll get multiple opinions. So that's the reason that we do this. So that's the way that it works. So roster resolution, again, $5. Give us a couple days. Please don't send this to me on Saturday and ask me to do it Saturday night when you have to make decisions on Sunday. Please, seriously. So that's not cool because it's going to make that really hard for me. Discount code is available for Angela. You heard it from the horse's mouth. So Angela gets a discount.
It might just be Angela.
It might just be Angela. Yeah. Or it might, yeah, we'll figure that out. So that's where we are. That's the way it works. So we're going to open that up here after this week is done. And then anybody who wants it, go ahead and get in there. There is no limit, but like I said, there is no bulk rate. So if you want 6, it's $5 per, because this is a legitimate, like,
Yeah,
this
we
takes
decided
time.
it's worth every
This is
penny.
like it's a lot of work for us. I'm not gonna lie to you because we have to actually go through and like lobotomize this whole like we got to go through and dissect it. You know what I mean? Like it's but yeah, Steve will point out the timelines are on the website, but we'll usually do them whatever the Friday is of the next week. So that's the way we do it because we have to actually carve out time to sit down and do this. It probably should cost more. That's why there's no bulk rate, Daniel, because we've been approached on this in the past where it's like one of those deals. So that's why $5 is the number we've agreed to. We have actually talked about raising the prices, but for right now, it's $5. $5 per team. So that's why there's no discounts on that. There's no bulk rate. It's 5 a team. So if you want 6, it's 5 times 6. So $30.
Yeah.
That's the deal. So that's the way that it goes. And yes, give us like if you paid for it on Monday, we will likely sit down that Friday and do it. Because Friday is usually the time when we can kind of carve that out. Because that's when Mason's streaming and the rest of us are available. So like that's what it is. So and we will go through it. So they're usually it depends on how much work we kind of think it needs. I'd say a lot of them are usually between 20 minutes and a half hour. Like, but it's like bespoke to your team. We go through the waiver wire. We go through the trades that we think you should make. We go through the actual rosters of the other people's teams. That's why we need a fair amount of information here. So, like, for example,
all things that normally when I make a trade, I need to look at anyway.
Right. So when
But
we're doing
doing
trades
what we would do with your team.
right. So when we do trades for ourselves, that's what we do. You got to go through all the rosters for all the teams, figure out what other people's needs are, and then you're almost never gonna get that first trade to go through. So you have to have several different trades that you're gonna try to evaluate and push through, and you'll get something to go through. You know what I mean? And then also sometimes we recommend doing like a trade to then get you to another trade basketball style. And we'll do that sometimes. So, but that's very subjective. So it's like this takes a fair amount of time. And yeah, if you have like a link to your league and we can get access that way because it's not a private league, we prefer that. But obviously, if it's a private league, you're going to have to do a little bit of legwork and get the screenshots to us. And usually the clock starts running, like the timelines are on the website, like Steve said, the clock kind of starts running once we can actually have the information because obviously there's not a whole lot I can do or anyone can do until that goes. So that in a nutshell is how that works. And now that we're getting on the other side of week 4, we're gonna start doing that again. So and that is the general nutshell on that. Let's get to Aaron Cantu's questions because he's been waiting patiently while we shill for ourselves.
Hey, it's been a while
So,
since we saw Aaron.
I know it has been a while. It's well, I see him in the
He's in
Discord.
the Discord.
Yeah, I see him in the Discord, but I haven't seen him on here in a while. So, would you drop Javonte Williams for Braylon Allen or Justice Hill?
Yes.
I wouldn't. I would
You
try
believe
to
in the
trade
Bronco?
No, I would try to
Oh,
trade
you trade.
Javonte Williams.
Okay.
I'm not cutting Javonte Williams for nothing. I would try and trade Javonte
He's
Williams
picking up.
for I would try and trade Javonte Williams for something that I thought I could actually do. Because there's got to be something on your team that I'm more willing to drop for Braylon Allen. I don't want Justice Hill. Just my thing. Braylon Allen, I'm more interested in.
I like Justice Hill. But I wouldn't. Well, I don't know. I might in PPR. I might.
Yeah, I get the concern on Javonte, but Javonte I still have is like the RB 35, which is outside of where he should be. That's outside of flex, but he's down in the Roshan Johnson, Tajay Spears, Zamir White, Cam Akers neighborhood, which is above Justice Hill for me. So I wouldn't just cut him. I still feel like there's got to be somebody in your league who is completely screwed at running back. Because I agree with your list here. Your other running backs are Kamara, Singletary, Ford, Charbonnet, and then Williams. You don't really need Williams, but I feel like I could get something for Williams that I would like a little more. And then there's got to be something else on this team that I'm willing to drop to pick up Allen, who I would be interested in. Largely because of what I would want to do is cut something else, take Allen, and shop that to whoever's rostering Hall. Don't really need Allen per se. Although, if I was going to have a stash, Allen would be a pretty good one. So, and then here you go. Or can I drop Atwell and hold on to Javante? I would do that because you could
Atwell's
always
just a short
always
term.
pick up Atwell again. Like that's what I would do. All right, more from Aaron here. I like some of these. Full PPR. Which 2 RBs should be rostered? So he's got RB slots 4 and 5. Which 2 would you roster? Gus Edwards, Tajay Spears, Roshan Johnson, Justice Hill, Tyler Algier, Cam Akers.
It's probably going to be Johnson and Spears.
Spears is one for sure. I think we're going to agree on that.
I just like how Roshan's been used. Like, he's starting to eat into Swift, which, thank God.
I don't know how that is. He's already buried Herbert. Took one game.
Oh, yeah.
And he's already buried Herbert, which is hilarious. And yes, Swift has looked terrible. So I didn't think we would agree on this, but we actually do agree. Of that list, I would roster Tajay Spears because he has a job and has upside for a better job if something happens to Pollard. And get what you can out of Spears before the knee injuries just end that man's career. He still looks good now, so enjoy it while you can. And the other one is Roshan Johnson because he has the most clear path to meaningful playing time of that list. Justice Hill, something terrible would need to happen to Henry for him to really ascend, which isn't the most likely thing.
Or it can be a game that they are behind in. Like, if the Ravens actually are behind, that's the reason I love Justice Hill, is because I say it on the waiver show on Mondays, but in my mind, he is this year's Jerick McKinnon. Like, he's getting passing down, third down, and when they're behind, he's getting the passing work. Like,
he is, but I'm not sold on them being as bad as they've been so far all year.
He's also currently ahead of, I think, this entire list, except for Akers, probably, because Akers had the full job in fantasy points currently.
Well, yeah, but okay, I'm not worried about Akers or Algier. Those are not things I'm worried about. If you want to talk about Hill, that's fine. But for me, it's Spears and Roshan, and I actually don't really have it that close. So that's what I'm looking for. Yeah, Akers seems like a now play, but I don't know if he's worth picking up. It's the only people picking up Akers are the people that need something to start, to your point, now, today, this week.
Like, they had Mixon, they should have picked him up last week. And even that might be in jeopardy with Dameon Pierce potentially be coming back this week.
And I don't think he would be, to your point, I don't think he would be a better start than either Singletary or Wandale. Certainly not Wandale.
And Singletary this week should be.
Yeah. So, right. So it's like you wouldn't be playing Akers over either of those guys. So he's not really worth it. I like Roshan for the haul. And then I just like Tajay Spears in general.
Oh, you do, huh?
Well, I said this last year. I liked him.
I know.
Just that, as I will continue to say, I have no problem with Tajay Spears. It's just he's here for a good time, not a long time. That's the problem. Is that that's not a long term. Like, I don't like Spears that much in Dynasty. It has been my point for a long time. I like Spears in redraft just fine, but in Dynasty, yeah, don't know about that. So I will talk you through my Danny Ainge 16 where I need a whiteboard. Like, I've got a whiteboard and I'm doing like multiple moves. I'm notorious. I will do that. Like, I am that guy. It works out a lot. Yes, I don't, unless you're in a league with Javonte Williams' mom, I don't think anyone would be interested in rostering him. That's fair, but you don't know till you ask. You don't know till you try. So yeah, it's fine. Everybody likes Steve. That's fine. Story of my life. All right, I've lost my place just a little bit. So I think that was all the Aaron Cantu questions. Yes. Yes, it was. And all right, we're back coming up to here.
Going back to the
that
question.
one. Did that one. We're going back to Daniel.
Award. I was like, Daniel Eberhardt. I thought he usually gives us a handful, and it's early.
I think it's this one. Yeah, we didn't do this one. Daniel, you'll have to correct me, but I think this is the last one you typed. I think we get the other ones because if I recall, there were 3 that I saw. So if I'm wrong, you'll have to let me know in the comments. But I think this is the last one. Okay, so Daniel probably might have more later, but for right now, Addison, half PPR, 2 wide receivers.
Okay.
Addison, Amari Cooper, Christian Kirk, Leggett, Pierce, Wandale.
Cooper for sure. Then I'm probably going to go with Leggett. I mean, it's close with Wandale. It just
It's
I'm
Cooper
worried about
for sure.
Yeah. I like the idea of Addison, but it's just going to be his first week back, which I don't love. I don't trust Kirk because that's just been a roller coaster you don't want to be on. And Pierce is a home run swing. So
yeah, I'm not doing Pierce. I'm not doing Leggett. I would, in a perfect world, I would do Kirk, but that boy
hasn't happened in a minute, huh?
That team, Doug
Yep.
Peterson, boy, oh boy, that just gets uglier and uglier the longer you watch it. It's like a car crash. So that's where we are. So yeah, it's Amari Cooper, and then it's close between Wandale and Addison, but Addison might not play, so this decision might get made for you. So I'd say I've narrowed it to Amari Cooper, Addison, and Wandale, and I check back on Sunday on that. It's a shame what they're doing to Christian Kirk. Like, it is not Christian Kirk's fault. And normally this would be easy. It would be Kirk and Cooper, and I'd be like, why are you asking this question?
Yeah.
But I do get it with the tire fire that is Jacksonville at this point. So that's rough, man. We're going to get a lot of roster resolutions from Daniel Jason. So I'd say clear one of your Fridays here. Just clear it, because I think we're going to have a long one evening that is just going to be a long night. I think we're going to be working from like 7 until 10, like doing like 6 of these. That's my theory. I don't know how bad his teams
Ward or
are.
Eberhardt?
Yeah, no, Ward.
Okay.
And then Eberhardt will have a couple, like, and Angela will have a couple.
You said 6. I'm like,
I don't know if he's going to pay for one for every league. He might be 3-0 in some of those. I don't know. But Daniel Ward, I could tell is just from the comment section is I think it's been a rough start. I think Daniel's been riddled with injuries. Both Daniels riddled with injuries. Okay, so 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a flex. Oh, this is long. Okay. Brees Hall, Kyron Williams, Jordan Mason, Neighbors, Godwin, Flowers, London, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
So definitely Amon-Ra.
Yeah.
Definitely. Is it? You said 2.
2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a flex.
Man.
I'm gonna play 1,
It's probably going to be
So it's
Mason
5.
Williams.
So it's 5 all day out of this list.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my set running backs and set wide receivers. So it's going to definitely be Kyron, Mason, Amon Ra, Neighbors, and Flowers. I think.
Well, I'm playing Brees Hall. Like, there ain't no way out of that. And I'm playing Kyron Williams. There ain't no way out of that. And I'm playing Jordan Mason, probably in the flex. Because beyond that, I'm going to play Amon Ra. And then we get into questions. Like, legitimately. After that, we get into questions. So, after that,
I feel like it's really hard to sit Neighbors at this point.
I'm playing Neighbors. That's literally what I was just going to say. I'm playing Neighbors. So I'm going to play all 3 running backs, Amon Ra and Neighbors. Because Godwin has ability, but it's so up and down. Flowers is the same thing. That's not even on him. That's Baltimore is in the tank. London is also up and down. So of the things that I feel good about, it's all 3 running backs, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown and Neighbors, just because Neighbors is on this incredible volume play, like this insane volume heater that I can't get away from. So that's how I'd set the lineup.
Well, yeah. Well, I felt like at one point it was like 67%.
It was. He set a record. There's just a record. That's what I'm saying. It's insane. It's a record. It's literally a record.
Yikes.
He's set a couple records, both for the Giants and for the NFL already. So that's going to be my lineup, Daniel. I'm playing the 3 running backs, Amon-Ra, and Neighbors. And you'll notice a theme. All volume plays. It's all the volume. So that's what I'm doing. Okay. PPR. Olave, Diggs, Kenneth Walker.
Olave.
Good. PPR. Scary Terry, Tank Dell, Rashad White, or Brian Thomas?
Probably
yeah, it's
McLaurin. It's between McLaurin and Brian Thomas because Dell's injured and isn't looking like he's going to play this week. Rashad's also injured.
I'll save you the time. It's Terry McLaurin. We agree. Let's just move on from that because that's we're gonna go all the way through that. It's not worth it. It's Terry McLaurin. We agree. Don't feel great about any of those, Daniel. Sorry, but the lesser of the evils is Terry McLaurin. And then I think
Jaden looks pretty good
when he's not running for his life. Yes, that's part of it. So, all right, Daniel wants to throw up. He missed. I think this is the question that he was saying. There was one more. Missed waivers. So no Sutton, no Braylon. Options. Oh, this is the running back. The weird running back that he said for us to pick a running back, and he didn't give us the list. He just said Swift. I got it.
Oh, okay.
So it's Swift, Roshan, Ty Chandler, Zamir White, Javonte Williams, Zeke, or Gibson. Do not is my answer to this. Jeez.
Let's see. Bears play Rams.
Yeah, which is a terrible matchup. That's a terrible matchup, by the way.
Raiders play Browns. Oh, gosh.
I don't like any of my choices here.
Patriots play 49ers. Golly, dude. No breaks.
Bro.
Denver plays
I hate these choices. Okay, my answer is DeAndre Swift, and now I want to throw up. That's my answer.
You're going with Swift over Roshan. Really?
Yep, we got there. One more week. If you wanted to play Roshan over Swift, I genuinely wouldn't blame you.
Okay.
I wouldn't even blame you. If you're just so fed up with DeAndre Swift, I'll tell you, I've benched Swift in every league where I have him at this point because I'm done. I'm just done with it. I'm done. Like, I haven't been Dynasty, Jason. That's my issue. Is like, so I've just started. Even there, I'm like, nope. I've seen enough Bears games. I've seen 3 Bears games this year. You want to know what my big takeaway from that is? Nope. Nope.
Allen
Like,
and Dunze. That's my big takeaway.
none of it. Keenan Allen when he's healthy.
Yeah.
Maybe. Outside of that, maybe Cole Kmet.
Yeah. When Allen's out, commit.
The correct answer is secret option 8. Curl up in a corner and sob uncontrollably. Yes.
You know what, Daniel? No, we have a better one. Go get Emmanuel Wilson.
Sure. Is Emmanuel Wilson available? Do that. All right. Daniel's already in the corner. All right. This team will be the focus of my roster resolution. And Eberhardt comes over the top. Yikes, man. Change focus. That was mean. That was mean even for me. I approve. He lost on Wilson, so that's over. So Roshan it is. It's Roshan. It's Roshan or Swift. Take your pick.
Hunt?
It's Roshan or Swift. Take your pick of those two.
Yeah,
And
it's gonna be Johnson for me.
yeah, either one. I don't like either one, but either one.
Ugh, that's brutal, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't I don't love any of that.
I'm gonna take a shower after that.
Yeah. Okay, and then Aaron Cantu has a question. Would you hold Javonte in order to drop either Tolbert or Tutu Atwell?
Again, it's probably going to be 2-2 of the two. I really like Tolbert and how he's been being used. It's just
Tolbert, I think, has
more volume
value. He has more volume and more long-term value. Atwell goes back to be nothing once
Cup or Puka
comes back, or both. So, Steve brings up a good point. I didn't think about this. Patterson, Cordarrelle Patterson,
probably not being picked up.
Yeah, Patterson, maybe Patterson. If Warren's out and Harris is beat up, Patterson. Yeah, I don't want either of the Bears guys really. So that
was a good one. Way to come in clutch.
We talked about that earlier too. I should have thought of that. We literally talked about that. Yeah, that might be your answer, Daniel.
Yeah,
that might be the answer here. Because Warren's probably not playing, and Harris is already beat to hell. So, there you go. That's where we are. Okay.
Well,
yeah, that's brutal. That is just straight brutality. All right, I'm just making sure I didn't miss any other questions. I think I got all the Daniel questions. I think I got all the Aaron Cantu questions, unless Steve wants to disagree with us on holding on to Javonte and wants to pound the table for either of the other running backs or wide receivers.
McLaughlin or Bidet. Did you hear that? That is the correct pronunciation for Tyler, Badie.
Oh God! Apparently Patterson is no longer available. He was picked up at 4:55 p.m. and Daniel's going back to the straitjacket. Oh jeez. Okay.
Well, just keep an eye out, buddy.
Keep looking. Roshan. I'm rolling the Steelers D. I have the Steelers D as a top 5 play.
Yeah. Surprisingly, only 2-point favorites.
Yeah, that's because of the offense. A lot of Javonte Williams questions. Would you drop Javonte Williams for? Oh wait, we covered this. We straight up covered this. No, he re-asked it. I'm not.
Okay.
It's further up. Like it's. Just to reiterate, I said no. I would try to trade Javonte Williams, and Steve said I don't think anyone's going to take Javonte Williams in a trade. But he never actually answered the question as to whether or not he would drop him. Jason said
Allen.
you would drop him.
Yeah, I'd pick up Allen right now.
Yeah, you'd go pick up Allen right now. I said I would wait and float around trade offers for Javonte to see if I could get anything that I thought would be an upgrade. If you're done with it, Aaron, I'm probably going to get outvoted here. Yeah, so I am going to get outvoted.
He's also talking about Tutu.
Right, but I am going to get outvoted. Let's answer the questions in a vacuum. Okay. Let's not blend them. Let's answer the questions in a vacuum. The direct question is, would you drop Javonte Williams for any of the running backs on that list? You and Steve had said Allen. I said I would try to trade him first. So what that should tell you is that I don't really have a problem with getting rid of Williams on my team. So if you want to go drop him for Allen, I think we would all agree, Allen, yes. Hill, maybe Jason would agree with you, but Steve and I are, based on the way Steve answers this question, no. Steve and I would not want Hill. I'd rather deal with Williams than Hill right now. But I would, if you wanted to do it for Allen, go to the waiver wire and do it right now. If you don't want the hassle of trying to trade Javonte Williams, which I could understand, by the way, if you just don't want the headache, you know what I mean? Like you're just over it. Go do it. The other question, I don't know if it's the same team, is why I'm saying let's answer the questions in a vacuum.
That's fair.
Right. So Steve's that's what I'm saying. Like it depends on what you get in return. If the answer is nothing, then you've just spent a lot of time wasting time, effectively. So if you want to be done, go get Allen and don't even worry about it. Just move on. Like I would, for my own personal brand of crazy, I would probably spend a little while floating some offers and seeing what I got. But the opportunity cost of that is A, your time, and B, the longer he's out there, then there you go. So, okay. So if it's the same team, then the question becomes, would you cut Javonte to add Allen, or would you cut Tutu Atwell to add Allen, or would you cut... I have to scroll for the other.
Yeah, it was Tutu or... Glendale? No.
No.
I'm probably, either way, I'm cutting Tutu would be the answer to that. Just because
Tolbert.
Oh, yeah. No.
So that's the question. You want to add Allen. There you go. I drop whatever I have more of. If I have 6 wide receivers and 5 RBs, I cut Atwell. And I think there's a certain logic to that. Because I try to keep it symmetrical as well with the same number of RBs and running backs. I think if you want to, I would rather, knowing that it's the same team, I would cut Atwell over cutting Javonte Williams based on the idea that Tutu Atwell has a very limited shelf life. And that's the thing that I would be most likely able to go re-pick up. And what I would do is I would actually go get Allen, and then I would still go try to trade Javonte Williams to see if I could get anything. Anything that would make any sense to me that I would want to do. There you go. That answers the question the right way. That's the real answer to the question. So there you go. All right.
Thanks for stopping in.
Nope. Yeah, I appreciate Aaron coming in whenever. Aaron's always welcome, obviously. So I believe we have now answered all of the questions. So given that, Jason, unless anybody wants to come in here while we do our last thing, if we missed your question, because there's been a lot of scrolling in this show for whatever reason, if I have somehow missed your question, it is not intentional. There's just been a lot of scrolling, but I've done a pass through this while we're talking, and I'm pretty sure I got them all. If I have missed your question, or if you have any last-minute questions, does Angela have a question? I believe I answered Angela's question. She had a question about quarterbacks. We answered it.
You can go to the Discord.
There's also that.
I was giving another option. We have deals for a year.
Overrated or appropriately rated.
How the ice cream version of the Snickers is probably a top 5.
Oh, I think I think Snickers is appropriately rated, but Snickers is like one of the few candies I really like in both ice cream and candy bar form.
I know, but the ice cream, like that is just such a superior way of putting it together and making it actually look like the candy bar. That was just a genius move on their part. I wish Milky Way would have done that. That also sounds appealing to me. But
The
this
only
one,
Angela
probably
question I recall seeing was this was the only question I recalled seeing.
Yeah.
We answered that. I'm scrolling back through.
Okay. Yeah, I'd hate for us to miss one.
Yeah, no, I don't want to. Everybody who's going to hang out here for 2 hours. I mean, I feel like you should get your. If you're going to hang out this long, you should get your question answered at a minimum.
The good news is I only have.
Believe this was the only.
Notifications.
I believe this was the only question, and we answered that. Now I said Burrow.
Still Burrow.
Yeah. Okay. Somewhere in here, there's a question that either didn't come through or I've somehow missed it, but I can't see how I missed it. Well, either way, we'll answer it now. Sutton or Myers?
Oh. Myers, I guess. Again, making me feel dirty. It's just
I have Sutton slightly ahead of Myers. I know the Broncos suck and they look
well,
terrible.
it's also Sauce. Like I know Sauce doesn't really shadow anybody, but I also don't trust the Broncos
I don't
wide
trust
receiver.
Myers at all. I don't trust anyone on the Raiders as far as I could throw them. So it's like I go with the guy who's been leading the team in receiving yards, receptions, and targets in Sutton is what I default back to. And so I would if you're asking me, I would roll Sutton out there. I have Sutton ranked a little higher in my flex rankings than Myers. Don't feel great about either one, I hate to tell you, but is Lad McConkey available?
Yeah. Myers actually 21 spots above Sutton in fantasy points.
Yeah, it's because that's like that one outlier game that throws it off.
This past week.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sticking with Sutton. I'm going with my rankings as I do. Jason, you can tell her Myers? Are we splitting it?
Yeah, Sutton also had what I would consider an outlier week last week. I know he's seeing more, but like his high right now is 6.8. Right?
If you're no, he had like 13 in PPR last week.
Come on. Okay, so he's at 54. Yeah, 13.8, 7.8, 3.6, and 13.8.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, 9.4, 6.9, 21.2. I mean, I trust Myers just to be a little more consistent. Mostly because, again, they don't have a defense to fall back on.
That's fine. I'm still going to roll Sutton. I mean, there's no real argument you're going to make for Myers that's going to sway me on this. So,
surprisingly, well, maybe not. Wide receiver 25.
Yeah, which is just
this past
there's only 3 games in. Like that's the issue. Like we're only 3 games in. That's the problem.
Cortland Sutton, wide receiver 54.
Yeah, I'm aware. That's been crap.
Okay.
But it's all propped up in one big game. 63 carries, 152 yards for Dobbins. Oh Lord. Okay. And then last one, Moss that makes sense because Moss or Dobbins.
Moss. I'm terrified, man. Chargers shouldn't be able to do anything this week without their O-line. I mean,
I have Moss as well. I know.
Also, the matchup for Moss is good.
I know Steve's not actually kidding. That he thinks they're just going to give it to Dobbins again and again and again, more than likely. But I also have Moss. Carolina's defense, run defense has been terrible. So I have Moss. I know Dobbins has been good, but I'm not rolling Dobbins this week. So no, I'm not doing that. It's going to be Moss for me.
Yeah.
That's where we are. It's relatively close. I've got Moss at 18 and Dobbins at 23. So, but
I mean,
okay.
good work, yeah.
And on that note, if anyone thinks of any more questions or if we missed one somehow, put them in the chat. But Jason and I are going to do tight end start sits of the week. And then if there's nothing else, we're going to head out of here. Jason, who's your tight end start of the week? Such as it matters.
Talked about Surtain being all over Garrett Wilson. So Tyler Conklin fired it back up. It's really just the targets are distributed between him and Alan Lazard, seemingly, and tight end's going to be there. So
Tyler Conklin has done nothing in the first 2 games and then had 14 fantasy points in week 3. For those of you playing at home, it was also right after I cut him off several of my fantasy teams. So that particular hex only works. Perfect. No, it only hurts. That hex only works one time. So go right back to doing nothing. I get it. You're down that low. You're looking for matchups, and Conklin has been serviceable for a lot of his career. Actually, he's been serviceable. Yeah. So I understand. You're gonna the desire to want to go that direction. For me, it's going to be Zach Ertz, and it's probably going to be Zach Ertz for the foreseeable future. Yep. To the point that he probably won't qualify to be a start because should be rostered in a lot more leagues. He's actually seen a lot of meaningful work for that offense until he inevitably gets hurt because it's Zach Ertz and he's 40. But he is getting getting the Jordan Reed treatment, and he's proven to be better at it than Reed was. But eventually Zach Ertz will probably get nicked up and that'll be the end of it. So enjoy it while you can. But he's actually looking like a professional athlete out there right now, and they're going to him as a result. So he has been very consistent in a position that is inherently inconsistent. So I like Ertz. I'm actually surprised he's not in the top 12 so far.
It's close though, right?
He was like 13 or 14. He's like 13, 14. So yeah. It is close. If you're looking for something that's further down, but the reason I went with that is because he's widely available. Yeah. He's only rostered in like 33% of leagues. So it's like he's still widely available. So that's one. And I really don't like the rest of the options, to be honest with you. Like, for example, are you excited about Hunter Henry against the 49ers? I'm not.
I mean, volume. That's the one thing that, but again, he disappeared one week, like, and was splitting with Calcaterra. And I was like, this is stupid.
It is stupid.
Like, you have this one player who has a great week, and you decide, oh, let's cut his snaps and routes in half. That makes sense. The one guy,
yeah, and I know, catch a ball. And I mean, like the other one I know is like I know your feelings on Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, no.
So it's like I know you don't like Dalton Schultz, and I get why.
But again, that's more because of Diggs.
Well, and also Dalton Schultz to that point. 4-4-4. It's very consistent. If you like 4, Dalton Schultz is your guy.
Well, Tucker Kraft, maybe.
Tucker Kraft,
but again, if he's healthy,
is hurt and is splitting, and that's the problem with Tucker Kraft. Not to mention the fact that we don't know who his quarterback is.
Yeah.
Cade
Otton.
We do need to do Steve's idea of the wheel of tight ends. But I don't own a physical wheel, so we'll have to get like the old. Remember the old Jack Knows Best wheel? We'll have to do that. We'll have to get the old like wheel website. I'll look that up for next week, Steve. I'll look into that for next week. The link, and I'll just load all the names in, and we'll just spin the wheel for start and sit of the week, and that's kind of what we can do.
Another one actually that is supposed to be healthy and Kamara's potentially banged up. Taysom Hill.
Well, we'll see about that. Taysom Hill is the ultimate wild card. You never know. And also with him being
Well,
still
you're
beat
at a
up, I
position
may
that
not
you
wanna
already
do
don't
that.
know.
Yeah, don't love that. Not for me. Similarly to how they have Mike Gesicki as a top 12 tight end. Not for me. Like, not something I want to do.
Oh, you mean my set of the week? Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, I will just reiterate that tight end is a total dumpster fire, and no one should be drafting them. And if you did, I'm sorry. Should have been listening. Should have paid attention. All right, Jason, do your sit of the week because you already started it.
Yeah, it's Mike Gesicki versus the Panthers.
Perfect.
Higgins is back. I know that this team's going to have to throw a lot, but even with Higgins back, Gesicki saw, I think it was only 5 targets. Luckily, he had a pretty good day with it. It's just with Higgins probably going to eat even more, getting healthy, and Yoshi Voss also still having what seems like the same workload. I'm terrified of Gesicki this week. I mean, and we already talked about how Moss can just chew up the Panthers. So
Yeah, right. For me, it's Mark Andrews. He ran 20% of the routes last week. It's like the lowest in his career. So that's going to go one of two ways. It's either going to happen again, and then we have the beginnings of a trend, which is not good, or or it's revenge game Mark Andrews, and I look like a dumbass. I'm willing to risk it. I'm going to risk it. I'll risk it. That's it. That's all. I'm not going to overthink this. Because I think in the future we're going to do it Steve's way, where we're going to spin the wheel. So don't bother picking start sits of the week and tight end anymore. We're just going to spin the wheel, and then you have to make the argument for whether they're a start or a sit. That's what we're going to do. We're just going to spin the wheel a couple times because this is that I actually agree that would be more fun and it would probably be more useful than trying to do tight end start sits of the week because it's inherently pointless. It's so pointless. Like the only start of the week at tight end is Brock Bowers, and that makes me want to throw up in my mouth. And you want to know who the sits of the week are? Anyone named not named Brock Bowers. That's the real answer. Like that's the real way to do this. Is like the start of the week is like one guy, and it could be and like there's a reason that. Oh, I'm sorry. There's 2. Goddard. I forgot. There's 2. Oh, I'm sorry. You want maybe you
this out, yeah.
Maybe Ferguson. It's 2.5. Like, and then after that, you get to Kelsey, and then Kincaid, no, Pitts, no, Mark Andrews, no, likely, God help you. Like trying to pick. I love how the ECR doesn't even know. They have those 2 right next to each other in the top 10. Like they have no idea. No one knows.
I mean, you just need one of them to be
all right,
out.
we'll do the wheel like the claw. All right, we'll do the wheel. All right, we'll do the wheel. The people have spoken. We're doing the wheel.
Start and sit?
That's what we're doing now. Yeah, for start and sit. No. You spin the wheel, and then the name comes out, and you have to make the argument as to why they're either a start or a sit.
Oh, okay.
That's what you have to do
on the fly. How many times are we spinning it?
As many times until I get bored. Until I am bored. So that's the answer. No, not once. It's got to be more than once. Once is not worth the effort. Because I got to set this up, dog.
No, there's only 32. Well,
you think I'm putting 30?
You think I'm putting 30? Tight ends that you probably want to put on
12 names on there, homie. I'll put 16 names on there to make it even. Okay. Like I am not putting.
You're not putting a full tight end list.
Not putting 32 names on there. How much time do you think I have? I ain't doing that.
You only have to set it up once.
No, I have to set it up. I have to make adjustments. Like because it's like, you know how you're gonna have you really want me to put Jordan Akins on there every week?
That one's easier for me to do. What are you talking about?
All right, Steve's gonna do it for me. That's there you go. Steve's gonna do it. He's gonna copy and paste it, and that's what we're gonna do. So that's how we're doing tight end start sets moving forward. There it is.
Okay. Are you going to go back to the tight end question from earlier that you said you wanted me to bring up?
The whole tight end question wasn't so much a question. It was more, what do you do with Mark Andrews, given that, like week 1 he disappears. That's sort of forgivable given his offseason. Comes back, they involve him heavily, and then last week he literally ran 20% of the available routes. And like, what do you do with this? Anything?
Well, I mean,
Like,
so we kind of I talked about the first week because that was their plan, was to take him away. Next week, it makes sense. He's healthy. They have him come back, have him do the
catches 4 of his 5 targets for 50 yards, and people are like, okay, all right, they're going to work him in. And then he had 1 target, and he only ran 20% of the routes.
Yeah.
So what do you do with this information? Like, what's the
I just don't think it's enough
advice?
Yet. Yeah, I mean, you're unfortunately have to hold because of where you likely drafted him.
Yeah,
which is brutal.
and
but yeah,
get it? Do you get the pun you made? You made a pun. It's in there.
Oh, I don't even remember what I said.
You said because of where you likely drafted him, and I was like, I get it. I get it.
Thanks.
I get the joke.
Doesn't even have to try. But
or be aware of it even.
Yeah, no. Very rarely am I aware of much.
The self-awareness of a potato.
But yeah, so it's difficult to get rid of him, but at the same point, you kind of saw it with Flowers coming on last year. He has kind of just become a normal part of the tight end landscape where you need a touchdown. And that's what I had him ranked as, is like, I expected him to see touchdowns, which would boost him up. Well, it hasn't happened. And I don't know if that's because of the coverages or, I mean, if they're already reducing his routes, that clearly doesn't help things. So if he's not going to be out there for red zone looks and the touchdowns, it's going to be difficult for him to have any value. But again, I don't feel like we have enough data to really assess that, because same note, they also have Derrick Henry, who has success running the ball. And if you get in close, why pass it when you can hand it off to Henry and see him push 5 people out of his way into the end zone, or carry 3 people on his back into the end zone? Like, take one more thing out of it, make it easy.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell people, because I've seen a lot of like hand wringing and clutching of pearls on the internet around this topic, and I think that is largely the correct advice. I agree with the idea that you kind of are stuck. I think you have to hold here, because you try to unload him now, you're going to get pennies on the dollar, and that just isn't a good strategy. And then you're going to look real foolish if he does round into form at some point, and you're going to feel real dumb that you kind of panic sold. At the same time, that's different than the advice of, do you start him? Because that's going to turn into, well, what are your other options pretty quickly. Because I could actually see the argument that he's kind of unstartable. But again, you run the risk of him coming back this week and scoring
putting up a 20,
and then you feel like an idiot. And I think it's just going to be one of these things, which is why I've been telling people for years that I'm out on tight end in general. It's just not consistent enough. It's not consistent enough for long enough that I want to deal with this. Like, you're seeing all the Laporta people that were so excited, and then all the Kincaid people that were so excited, and all the Andrews people and the Kelsey people and all these people that were so excited, and the Kittle people and all the people that were telling me that I'm an idiot and that tight end has some value and it's worth it. And what's hilarious is I was right. They're all failing. And the one guy that I was like confident would fail is Brock Bowers, and he's succeeding, because that's the way the world works, is that I'm right. But of course, there's got to be one little fly in the ointment for me. But it's one of those situations where I do have to chuckle at that, just in a cosmic sense. But yeah, it's just tight end in general at this point. I think that's going to be the advice moving forward, is just, you just can't risk it. You can't risk running. Steve has said this for years. Your team could support in redraft a high-end quarterback or a high-end tight end, and not both. And I'm wondering how that advice will get amended for next year, as far as he's concerned. Because I'd say my advice has been, I'm just waiting on both. I'm just going to wait on tight end and I'm going to wait on quarterback. And that's the way I prefer to run my teams if I can. But I'm wondering if Steve's advice will be amended to, you can take a high end quarterback, but tight end, you should just wait until the 14th round and just take darts. 13th, 14th round, take 2 if you need to, and just wait, or wait and see who pops on the waiver wire. Because I think that's going to be the right advice moving forward. Is just what can you do? Like what can you do about this? Because this situation, for all the people that did spend a high draft pick, it's just untenable. It's an untenable situation. You know what I mean? That's the problem. So, yeah.
You can also do defense, kicker,
Yeah,
like
defense, kicker, things like that. It's yeah, I have very little sympathy in general, Daniel.
I mean, we went through it. Like I don't think any of us were really sold on any one top end tight end.
No. Kelsey being the closest to something, just because I've seen that movie so many times that it's like, okay, I'm starting to kind of like, yeah, eventually he'll fall off, but that's one of those, it's like the Derrick Henry thing with me, where it's like, yeah, eventually it's going to happen and I'm going to be wrong because I'm going to be a year too late on it because I've just seen it so many times that I refuse to be wrong by being a year early. And that's just the way it goes. And it's like, and then I saw today people are theorizing that Kelsey looks out of shape because he spent all offseason partying with Taylor Swift. And I'm like, I mean, maybe that could be part of it, but no one knows. And then the other, like, that's just speculative. And the other part of that also is he's 36. Like, there's also that idea that, people get old and they don't run the way they used to.
That and Rashee Rice is pretty much playing the same position.
Rashee Rice looks phenomenal. Like, it's
but if Kelsey was getting those same targets, like it might not be as many yards, but you're happy with him as your tight end 1. And that's why we were even hesitant. It's because we saw what Rice can do, and usually it's in the same spots that Kelsey's normally in. So, not ideal.
Yeah. It is what it is, man. There's nothing that we can really advise on this. I have a feeling that the roster resolutions will be very telling this year. A lot of tight end stuff. So, and the injuries. It's the tight ends and the injuries is what's kind of killing it. Because like a lot of the quarterbacks haven't been exactly what you were hoping for, but at least it's not straight up murdering you. You know what I mean? It's been underperforming. Richardson, Hurts to an extent.
Mahomes.
The Mahomes one is interesting because if you go back to last year, he hasn't had a 20-point fantasy day in like 8 consecutive games. Yeah. So it's like,
I believe it was 17% of his last 17 games. He's scored over 20.
Yeah. So it's like you're seeing the cracks in that strategy. And that's why I've been telling people for years, that one crazy year where all the top end quarterbacks, that was an outlier. Because I've been doing this for a long time because I am old. And I can tell you, like, you see some weird stuff the longer you do this.
Yeah. What you're hoping for more often than not is, like you said, 20. 20 is your
20 is the cut. 20 is where you feel like, okay. Anything under that starts to feel bad. Starts to feel like you overpaid. And that's where you start seeing people get kind of squeamish. So I'll be interested to see because I have, how this works. Every year it zags. And I have a feeling next year when we're talking about this, I don't know yet. We're only 3 weeks in officially. This is week 4. We'll see. But if I was a betting man, where I'm thinking seeing the wind blow next year is that Jason, we're going to return to form, and all the people in the industry are going to be like, oh, you got to get high end running back. You got to get high. I'm like, it's the more things change, the more they stay the same. You know what I mean? It's almost like changing that strategy is stupid. That's the conclusion I've drawn after years of doing this. It's almost like trying to chase the individual year trends is dumb. And what you should just do is the tried and true strategy. Get running backs and wide receivers that will make you win. And the rest of it is just even that's what there is one thing I'll shout out Sal Vetri, who if you don't follow on Twitter, I recommend him. He's one of the people I like as a fellow industry person. Like I like Sal Vetri. I think he talks. I don't agree with everything the man says, but I think he does talk a lot of sense. And Sal will tell you that one of the best ways to win in fantasy is to get a wide receiver after the 7th round that finishes as a wide receiver 2 range, and that's one of the easiest way. That's one of the easiest ways to win, and I agree with that too. I think that's a very solid. It's hard to do, but you see that a lot as a recurring theme. Whereas if you can get a wide receiver being drafted after the 7th round, 7 to 10, even later, that can finishes in the wide receiver 2 range at the end of the year and be consistent for you, that can win you your league. And that's where I'm like, when people are loading up on quarterbacks around that time, I'm like, no, you want to keep trying to hit these wide receiver and running back dart throws, because they're not all going to hit, obviously. But if one of them does, you are straight, because that can cover up a lot of your sins if one of your high investment players goes down. You know
Neighbors?
what I mean? Neighbors was before that.
Oh, he was before the 7th?
Yeah, I'd have to pull up the spreadsheet, but
Okay. I thought he
I'm
was
pretty.
close. I thought he would be one
It
of
is
the ones
close, but I'm pretty sure Neighbors would not qualify, because I'm pretty positive. I'm actually looking it up right now. Neighbors was, I want to say 4th round. Neighbors was ADP 51.
So
That
4th,
5th
round.
round. 4th, 5th round. So Neighbors doesn't qualify. Neighbors would not qualify in this instance. But that's kind of what I look for. When you're down that low, you're looking for somebody that's being drafted late that can come up into the Jameson Williams would be an example, because he was like a 9th round pick.
So also Shaheed.
Yeah, 10th round pick, Shaheed. But that's the jury's not out on either of those yet.
Correct. But you brought up
Got a lot of ground to cover on that. Like, but as a general idea,
Robinson.
Jury's not out on that yet either.
I know, but you're talking about somebody who's more than likely going to have 120 fantasy points. I mean, well, 170 fantasy points this year, just because he's.
But when we re-rank it at the end of the year, I'll tell you, I'll pull it. That's why we keep the 32 teams and 32 days sheet, because I'll tell you, I'll pull it. That'll happen. I'll tell you who the individuals were, because there's examples. I mean, if you want to go back far enough in time, Cole Beasley. That was an example in PPR, which is gross to think about. But that wasn't that long ago. That was 3 years ago. I know that feels like ancient history, but that was 3 years ago. So it does happen, and it happens fairly regularly. You're looking for a guy who's like a waiver claim or like a late round pick, anything after like the 7th, 10th round, anything in that neighborhood and after, that can finish as a wide receiver 2 or even a very high end flex, that can literally win you your league. So that's usually stuff I'm looking for, rather than like farting around with these tight ends. And quarterback is replaceable. It's been my opinion for a very long time. Look at Justin Fields. Who drafted Justin Fields? No one. Who drafted Sam Darnold? No one. Historical examples are Kirk Cousins, Phillip Rivers on a long enough timeline. Like there's always guys like that, where it's like Baker Mayfield. Historically and currently. Like there's always guys like that. And that's why I have a hard time with that as a strategy, where it's like, oh, I'm going to spend a 4th round pick on Jalen Hurts. And it's like, that might be great. It very well could pay off for you. That's why I have a hard time telling people not to do it, because it's like, it very well could pay off for you, but not the way I like to work. It's not my preference if I'm doing that. And the tight end thing I've always said is like, unless your name is Travis Kelce, the volatility is too high. I'm not interested. Let someone else deal with that, because it might work out. It's like that Arrested Development quote. No, people always try and then it always fails. But but it might work for us. And it's like, no, it doesn't. You're deluding yourself. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right. Well, there's no more questions, and Jason and I have covered all the starts and sits, and there it is, folks. So tune in tomorrow. Jason's going to help you out answering questions for Cowboys Giants. Gross. No one will enjoy that. My advice would be to watch that game on mute or wait for it to be over. And that reminds me of being a younger person and wishing that they brought back TiVo. Remember TiVo? I wish they brought back TiVo because that would be the exact game that I would TiVo and watch it times 2. And we would just knock that game out because I'm not watching that game.
So Neil clearly doesn't have YouTube TV because now you can just watch all the major plays.
Neil doesn't pay for things like that.
I know.
I have my own ways. I have my ways.
It's really nice. You can just watch all the key plays, and it gets you through in about 5 to 10 minutes, and it's perfect.
YouTube does the same thing. Regular YouTube. The NFL uploads condensed games that run all the highlights. They're typically about 15 minutes apiece. Just Google the game that you want to find into YouTube after the game is over, and you will find it. I will tell you, it's pretty nice.
Oh, and 2 Monday games again this week.
Yes, because logic is just non-existent. I really tell you, I hate the 2 Monday game thing. I hate it. I really don't care for it. I get why they're doing it. I just don't like it, and that's my old man opinion, and that's fine. Like I understand why they're doing it. I just hate it. So there you go. I hate Thursday too. It's my other old man opinion, but I've been very vocal about that for years. So there you go. That's where we are. So tune in tomorrow. Keep Jason company. Get your last minute Cowboys Giants questions answered before a Thursday night game. Even more. Enjoy that. I will tell you, the only thing I plan on enjoying about that game is Neighbors. I'm looking forward to Neighbors. I'm looking forward to Neighbors. The rest of it I have very little interest in. And then tune in, come along on Friday. Tune into Locked In with Mason and Vishal. Mason and Vishal are already making people money. It's crazy. And then tune in for Jason's celebrity shots with like Adam Thielen, the over, which I believe worked out, didn't it? Oh, he needed 3.5, and he got hurt. That sucks. He was well on his way.
One more. I just need one more.
What's funny is he was well on his way.
I know.
It was the third quarter, and he already had 3 and a touchdown. And I'm like, yep, we're good. We are good here. And then he got hurt on the touchdown. And it's like, crap. I wasn't sure if it was 3 or 3.5. All right, well, that makes
3.5.
That sucks. That sucks. That's sucky. So okay, well, tune in on Friday for Locked In. They'll help you make some money. They always do. And then we will be back, Jason and I, on Sunday for the final countdown. I've mentioned before, I'm the one who runs the chat for that because we had over 50 people simultaneously asking questions on Sunday. So come and get your questions answered. Get them in because that show is starting to get crowded. So get them in if you want your questions because we pride ourselves on getting all the questions answered. Everybody gets an answer. But what you'll notice is the nuance. The explanations start going away. But yeah, I'm running the chat for that because it's too busy. There's too many people. It's a busy day. So tune in for that. And then yeah, you can always hit us up in the Discord. Join us on the Discord. Roster resolutions start next week for the Daniels and for Angela. Angela, discount code. We'll talk that out. And we'll sandbag Daniel for you. It's fine. He knows. He knows. He knows what the score is. So we'll look forward to getting that done. And it sounds like we're going to be busy, Jason, with a lot of roster resolutions because I think the injuries have just crippled people this year. No pun intended. So there we go. But until then, we'll catch you next week. We'll catch you on Wednesday. Hopefully Jason's normal computer starts working again. and we won't have a 20-minute delay. Outside of that, we will catch up with you here in the near future. But until then, keep up the nonsense.